Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's broadcast of the final round of the Australian Endurance Championship for 2016, and we're covering tonight the Le Mans 24 hour. We have 12 minutes to go until end of qualifying and then we'll be on with the race. But before we do, let's introduce our commentators. We've got Tim Ballinger up here tonight as well as Adrian Jarvis, so welcome guys, it's going to be an interesting night.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Bernie. Yeah, the final round, and yeah, it looks like we're going to have a cracker to finish off this.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, thanks, Bernie.
Sorry, Adrian. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting night, that's for sure. I've had technical issues today, folks, and that's why we're not broadcasting live. But you will hopefully be looking at this replay and enjoy our coverage. The coverage tonight was going to go for 5 hours. It's going to be shortened to 2, so you'll get the first 2 hours of the race, and then a mid-race update, and then the final few hours tomorrow night. So let's have a look at the track guide, and interesting track here, 38 turns, a very long track, 14 kilometres an hour. The skies are clear out there at the moment, wind speed 10 kilometres an hour, and it's a hot one, 41 degrees Celsius. So the drivers and cars are definitely going to feel that over the next 24 hours.
Probably one of the more interesting tracks on iRacing too, Bernie. Very hard track to set a car up for you. The first half of the laps are these very long straights, so you're trying to wind all the downforce off the cars to get as much straight line speed as you can. And then the second half of the track, you're basically constantly turning through the Porsche curves and that. So to get a good setup around here is very hard to do in your mechanical grip rather than actual aerodynamic grip around this track.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting track, isn't it? And we've seen during practice a few guys getting it wrong through the Forza chicane and the Michelin chicane. And you're saying before the broadcast, Tim, that there's a few big bollards the guys have to be careful of in the Corvettes as well as the HPDs.
Yeah, pretty much the last 2 chicanes before you come onto the start-finish straight, and the first, I think it's turn 2 and 3, the first chicane after that. You've got these yellow bollards on the inside, so if you try and take too much of the corner, you will actually hear the front of the car hit them and it will bend them, which is going to affect your straight line speed. So over the next 24 hours, all the teams are going to have to carefully manage that.
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on. And we just saw then the other thing they're going to have to manage is the speed differential between the HPDs and the GT3s. We just saw 2 GT3s come together on the back straight there. One was the Blackadder Motorsport entry, and I tell you what, it rolled for probably a good 50 metres after it hit that Armco.
Yeah, they will go off pretty hard down there. You are carrying a lot of speed. I think the GT3 cars are about 270, somewhere around there. The HPDs and the Corvettes are probably going to be harder to manage because they're nearly equal pace in a straight line. So the HPD drivers have really got to try and get as close as they can to those Corvettes in a straight line and really just try and outbrake them into the chicane. So that's probably going to be the hardest thing to manage. The biggest speed difference between the GT3s and the other classes won't be too bad. So.
Yeah, and the other thing they're going to have to manage tonight, folks, is they only get 2 fast repairs here for the next 24 hours. So the drivers are going to have to be very careful in the opening laps just to make sure that those cars don't get damaged early. Because if you lose a fast repair in the first hour or so, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. The other thing the drivers are going to have to be careful for, folks, is the incident cap, set at 150 tonight. So it sounds like a lot, but over 24 hours that can certainly add up pretty quickly, as we see All-Star Motorsports at 218 have a spin in Indianapolis. So let's have a look at our point score. At the moment, Carnet TDR, the 137, looks pretty good. It looks like you guys have wrapped it up, Tim, with 2,580 points. I don't think Team TTL can catch you. The most points they can make is 370 tonight, so congratulations on taking out Class A. Redback Racing Team, the 119 though, they're still fighting Team TTL as well as FSR Dayco for the final 2 steps on the podium. And then we have in 5th place the 118 Redback Racing Team, and they could potentially get the 3rd spot on the podium tonight. So a lot to play for in the minor positions for Class A.
Yeah, Bernie, it's been a pretty good season by the boys. Aaron, Tim and Colin have done an amazing job. They haven't won a race all season, but just their consistency. I think their lowest finish has been 5th all year. So just their consistency every race. They've finished every race and finished no lower than 5th, and that's what's given them the championship. So, yeah, it looks like the minor places, 2nd and 3rd, are where it's going to be at for the Class A. Class B is still yet to be decided, and I think Mad Cow pretty much wrapped up Class C.
Yeah, so looking at Class B Championship, we've got ERA, the 226 leading on 2,810 points, but as you said, Tim, Synergy Sim Racing, the 200, 2,720 points, and then we've got Evolution Racing Australia, the 228 on 2,620 points. So those three are going to be fighting tonight to see what order they finish on the podium. They're pretty much guaranteed a podium finish because LMTI, they're a long way down on 2,055 points, and then Tryhard's DP rounds out our top 5 on 1,890 points. So saying that, I reckon ERA are going to be pretty hungry tonight to try to get a 1-2.
Well, unfortunately, this week we've also got the BS qualifying series on for the Pro Series for the GT3 on iRacing, and it looks like ERA have only got the 226 entry here tonight. So, looks like between all the events they've got to cover, they've sort of thrown all their eggs into the one basket there in 226. But I think when I had a quick look at it during the week, I think Synergy Sim Racing is going to have to win tonight, and 226 is going to have to run into some trouble. I think there's only about 8 Corvettes here tonight. I think they've got to finish lower than 5th for Synergy Sim to catch them.
Yeah, so it's going to be a pretty, I think the 226 is going to be playing it pretty cautiously tonight just to ensure that they come home in the top 5. Then, of course, in Class C, Mad Cow Racing, the 333, as you said earlier, Tim, they've pretty much wrapped this up. And congratulations to Mad Cow Racing and Bessie there. Selby.com.au Racing, the 314 on 2,335 points. There's still a bit to play for there between them and Delta Sim Sport on 2,260 points. I don't think Swift Racing will make the podium unless something disastrous happens to the other 2 cars above them. And then rounding out your top 5 is Pagny and IRFF Racing, the 300. They're sitting in 5th at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think the main, the first in each class is pretty well wrapped up tonight. So it's going to be for that 2nd and 3rd position. For teams like ERA, like you said, do they want to try and push for the win here tonight and have bragging rights at Le Mans, or are they going to try and just protect their lead in the championship? So with everyone else, it's going to be a case of, especially I can see in the Class A, Class C, there's going to be a lot of teams there that they know where they're at. They can't really improve, so it's just going to be an all-out try and win this race tonight. So it should be some good racing.
Yeah, it certainly will. It's going to be a bit like the tortoise and the hare race, isn't it? Where we can see Synergy Sim Racing 3 there having a spin. Quite a few guys are spinning at the moment with 4 minutes to go in qualifying. The other thing to mention to our viewers out there, folks, is normally the different classes, they'd be out by themselves on the track, but due to the size of Le Mans, Race Control has done mixed qualifying, and I guess, Tim, that's so that they can, the field's going to be pretty much spread out around this 14-kilometre circuit anyway.
Yeah, I think the main reason why they did it, Bernie, is just that with the length of the track, if everyone only had 20 minutes, they'd probably only get 2 or 3 flying laps in, and around here it's so easy to make a mistake, and if you make a mistake in the first sector, it's a long way back around before you can start another lap. So I think the AEC boys have done that just to give everyone a fair shot at the qualifying. The other thing I have noticed too is Justin Ruggie. Ruggie is back for the first time in about 4 rounds. And I know he normally races with Shane Van Gisbergen and a few other boys. It'll be interesting to see how they go up against Mad Cow tonight if all the good boys from that team turn up.
Yeah, exactly right. And they're sitting 23rd outright in qualifying at the moment. And we'll see how they go. I'm just looking at, they're sitting, 1, 2, 3, 4, around about 5th in class, maybe 6th in class as far as qualifying goes. But saying that, it really doesn't make much difference as long as you stay out of trouble and run to a race plan over the next 24 hours.
It's going to be a lot of race management tonight. I mean, if we get any safety cars, it's such a long safety lap. So a lot of these teams are going to have to really think of the biggest thing they have to think about tonight's fuel. Normally on a normal racetrack, they're going to get an hour out of the tank of the GT3s, and you'll be looking about 45, 50 minutes out of the HPD and Corvette. But with this track, you're on throttle so much. I can see the HPD guys and Corvettes probably having a pit about every 35 minutes. That depends on how close they want to go on their fuel in case the safety car comes out. And the GT3 boys are going to be probably pitting about every 50 minutes. And then it's going to come down to how long they can get out of a set of tyres. Of course, with each of these cars, they put the fuel in, then they do the tyres. So it's who can manage their tyres. I think a lot of teams will probably double stint their tyres, and I wouldn't be surprised if some teams have probably thought about triple stinting. Given the length of the straights, you can look after the tyres a bit longer.
Yeah, that's right, and give them a bit of time to cool down on those long straights. There's also been a few pre-race penalties being issued, or have been issued, and that is to FSR Dayco Motorsports. Let's bring that up. That's the 100. They've got a pit lane start, basically, for entering with the incorrect number. So they'll have a pit lane start. Also, Mad Cow Racing, the 333, has a pit lane start for the same reason. The 397 ANZ Motorsports also has a pit lane start for wrong number. 367 Blackadder Motorsport also has a pit lane start for the same reason. And then the 397 ANZ Motorsports, they will have a pit lane start plus a drive-through penalty. That was because they came in with the wrong number in the warm-up, where the other guys did it in the first practice.
Yes, a lot of planning goes into this by the teams, and the rules are set there. You've got to. It's like any series. You've got to read the rule book, understand the rule book, and play by the rules. And so easy to make a mistake, and just one person hits the wrong button, and So it is interesting for the teams to try and manage all that. And like I know with our team, we've had 2 entries in most of the series. So you've got to try and make sure each one of those drivers is coordinated. When you've got up to 4 drivers in a car, and then you've got 2 practice sessions as well, it just takes a lot of planning to make sure everyone's where they've got to be and in the right car at the right time.
Yeah, it certainly does take a lot of planning and a lot of preparation. I know quite a few teams, they spend a couple of weeks preparing setups and getting all their drivers up to speed, so it could be real gut-wrenching for someone just to come in with the wrong number and have a pit lane start. But saying that, 24 hours around here, a pit lane start might keep you out of a lot of trouble as they come into Dunlop for the first time tonight.
Yeah, well, it will be interesting because a lot of the guys on here probably haven't done like a proper race start on this track. A lot of us have brought the track and we've probably run it in practice heaps of times, but an actual race start with a lot of cars, the first sort of 2-3 corners are all very tight and very slow, and if one person gets out just has to miss their brake marker by the slightest bit, having starting from the pits won't be such a bad thing.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, and the guys will be they're just finishing off their qualifying at the moment, and then we'll go through the grid. It's going to be a rolling start here tonight, folks, as always with the Australian Endurance Championship. Hopefully the 3 different classes will give each other a lot of room, and it'll be a nice clean start here at Le Mans. I'm pretty excited about this, guys. I've been looking forward to this race probably all year, and when I heard the AEC was going to run it, I was pretty happy that we were also going to be able to broadcast it. So we're just waiting now for the guys to finish up. If we have a look at who's out there at the moment, we've got Gary Hamilton, 3rd. Where's he? Such long straights. I think he's up the back. Just came through Mulsanne now, and he's running down towards Indianapolis. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets enough time to finish this lap. He's currently sitting in 3rd. His best time was a 3-minute 33. 415, and he needs a 3-minute 33.344 to jump up to 2nd. Aaron Lee in the 118 Redback Racing, he's the only one to have qualified in the 332s in Class A tonight, so that's a good effort by those guys.
Yeah, certainly is. I know with our car, I was just talking to the boys then, sorry Bernie, while you were talking, and because it was all a 1 hour of everyone in there, the one good lap, they looked like they were on for a very low 33, maybe a high 32, they got balked, so, and every other lap they sort of pushed a bit hard. Like I said, such a long lap, one mistake and it's gone, so it'll be interesting to see once we get going. We know how quick Aaron Lee is, he's an absolute weapon in a car, so, like I said, but you look at the rest of the times there, you've got 5 cars within 0.4 of a second, so it's going to be fun in Class A.
Yeah, it certainly will, and it'll be interesting to see who starts the race, because I know last time I think Aaron actually qualified the car, but he didn't start. I think they left that up to Brett Wilson, and I think Aaron jumped in about third in their stint, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. We can just see now Gary Hamilton coming across the line while he's blowing that, and he hit the wall in frustration because he got an off-track, would you believe, going through the Ford chicane, which is the last chicane of this long lap.
Very hard chicane too, Bernie. It's probably one of the chicane, if you have a look at it, you've got a ripple strip, and then just inside the ripple strip you've got this big red sausage that runs around the inside, and it's very easy just to nudge that, and it unsettles the car big time if you even just give it a slightest nudge.
Yeah, it's a really tricky part, isn't it? That part of the track. It does. Looking at it on TV really doesn't do it justice of how tight that part of the circuit is, and how much braking is required to negotiate it.
Yeah, it's a very technical part of the track, because you've got the first chicane that you get before, and it's basically like a third gear one, a very fast chicane. So you're trying to get a good run through that, but as soon as you get through that, you're also straight away on the brakes trying to line it up for the real slow one straight after it. Very technical and very hard just to get everything just where you want it, especially trying to get the car straight coming out of that chicane and getting on the brakes to get through the next one.
Yeah, it's a real tricky part, and as you said, it's an interesting track. You've got long straights up the back from Tetra Rouge through the long straight into Forza Michelin, down to Mulsanne, and then back up to Indianapolis through Anage, and then the technical stuff comes. Porsche curves up through Corvette into Ford. You've got Dunlop, you've got the S's, and then through Tetra Rouge. Even that, like, they take that pretty quick, but it's pretty easy even to mess that up.
Yeah, especially when you come out of the S's and through that one where you come out of the left-hander and you've got the wall. It's one of the few places where you've got a wall on exit, and very easy to give that a nudge if you're just even half a foot off the apex on the inside. So you've got to be real careful through there to look after your car.
Yeah, you certainly do, and we're just waiting for them to line up, folks. So while we're waiting for them, I think they're having their driver's briefing. Let's go through our grid so you can see where your favourite drivers will be starting tonight. So Redback Racing, the number 118, will start from pole position, followed by Trans-Tasman Racing. Michael Healy will be starting, well, he qualified that car, the 177. The 115 Nutters Motorsport Orange will start out of third, followed by Nutters Motorsport Green. So great there for Nutters Motorsport, third and fourth on the grid. ABR Team 2 will start out of fifth, that's the 169. Out of six is Carnet TDR, the 137. They're the Class A champions. Then the 100 FSR Dayco Motorsports will start out of seventh position. The 119 Redback Racing HBD Team 2, they're currently fighting FSR Dayco for the second or third position. They're starting from 8th. The 166 Team VPR will start out of 9th. Out of 10th is the 200 Synergy Sim Racing, and first in Class B. Out of 11th and second in Class B is the 214 Synergy Sim Racing 2 team, followed by the Synergy Sim Racing 3 in 12th. Out of 13th, All Star Motorsports, the 217, followed by the 226 Evolution Racing Australia out of 14th. Out of 15th, All Star Motorsports, the 218. Out of 16th, we have LM and Touring International, the 229. Out of 17th is the 231 Tryhards Racing DP1. First in Class C and starting from 18th is Delta Sim Sport, the 399, followed by Mad Cow Racing, the 333, which will be starting from the pits. Out of 20th is Selby Racing Team, and it looks like Nathan Herpatz will be starting in that car. Out of 21st, Swift Racing, the 363, followed by Arm Racing, the 340 in 22nd. Out of 23rd, 397, ANZ Motorsports. Justin Ruggier is going to start in that car. And then the 332, Tryhards Racing 2 team out of 24th. Out of 25th is Oceanic Sim Racing. Out of 26 is Blackadder Motorsport, and then finalising out of the grids we have 27th the 311 G&T Racing and the 367 Blackadder Motorsport out of 28th.
Very interesting too there in Class B too, Bernie. You've got the 3 Synergy Sim Racing who've gone 1, 2, 3 in qualifying, and the Evolution Racing is back in 5th, so there'll be a fair bit to play for back there. We'll have to see how they go during the race.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot to play for back there, and at the moment we can see Class A there lining up. Class B's given them a lot of room here, and just get everything set up here, and we'll be ready to go racing. Let's have a look from Blimp Cam. It's Class A's quite a small field really, isn't it? It looks like, 9 cars in the field?
Yeah, a lot of the classes are a lot smaller than usual. I think we've normally had about 13, 14 HPDs and probably 12 Corvettes and probably 16 GT3. So a lot of the field is smaller, but I think the BS has probably affected that a bit too. So, and being a longer race, you need twice the drivers you did last time, so a lot of teams have had to double up in the one car.
Yeah, so we can see them now just going through. Where are they? I think they're up at Corvette at the moment. We'll have a look at Class C, and we can see those guys. They've given a lot of room to Class B and A, and then Class A, Glenn Postlethwaite out there. So hopefully we'll have a nice clean start here tonight.
Well, I'll keep an eye on Class B, and you can go with Class A if you want, Bernie.
Sounds like a plan. Safety car is in, so Redback Racing HPD will have control. We can hear the planes going over. Fortunately, we can't see them, but they're just doing the nice formation flight. So coming into Ford for the first time, and then we will get the green, so long as the guys line up neatly. They do, and we're under racing here at Le Mans. And Redback Racing leads, followed by the 177 Nutters Motorsport, orange and green fighting, and we have now I've gone back to Class B, would you believe? In the 177. Okay, fantastic. So the 177 Trans Tasman Racing in second, followed by Nutters Green, then Nutters Orange. How's Class B looking?
Yeah, Class B's clean. I'm now down with Class C, and they've all got away clean, and the cars that had the pit lane start have just been told to leave.
Okay, so Synergy Sim Racing, the 200 leading Class B, followed by Leanne Tander in the Synergy Sim Racing 2. Then we have Glenn driving the 210 in Synergy Sim Racing 3. And then the 226 Evolution Racing Australia sitting down there in 4th. And then we have the 2 All-Star Motorsports coming through in 5th and 6th. Jumping down to Class C, the 363 is under a lot of pressure at the moment from Selby, and it looks like they're going to try to take the lead here.
Yeah, our Pulsitter actually got a off track at the very first corner, so he dropped from 1st to 4th in one corner. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes coming back through. There wasn't a great deal of difference between the top 3 in Class C either, so that's shaping up to be another great battle too. We know Mad Cow how quick they are and have been all year, but unfortunately this is not a BMW track, so I think I'll be on between them and Selby tonight. Yeah,
the BMW guys were a little bit worried about how slow they were going to be, and we can see now FSR Dayco, the 100, already they're starting to come through the field, and these boys are going to have a busy first hour or so.
Yeah, I think there's about a 30-second difference between Class A and Class C, so they'll have these cleaned up within a lap. They've just got to be careful trying to get through the traffic, because we see one of them miss their braking point and go straight ahead. So once the Dayco boys, they'll have all these cleaned up within a lap or two, and then they'll be able to just knuckle down and just get into it and see if they can catch up to the rest of the Class A boys.
Yeah, and Matthew Barron's driving that car at the moment. I tell you what, he went right across onto the ribbon of the circuit there to get past one of the GT3 boys, and now hard on. Oh, he's been hit too. That's not what they wanted. He was hit by one of the Tiger GT3s.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be getting damage on a HPD this early. So, I mean, hopefully it's not too bad and they can manage it to their first pit stop. But it's gonna, if there's any aero damage on that car at all, they're going to be slow on a straight line, which is just going to make their job a lot harder.
Yeah, so just jumping back to the replay here, folks, and we'll have a look at it and just see exactly what happened. We can see one of the one of the GTs running straight ahead, as Tim called that. Now let's have a look at this. I tell you what, it looked like he was going to get through because he's running down the left-hand side here, coming down towards Mulsanne. We'll just go to the super slow-mo here, and I think the number 20, yeah, the GT3 just came straight down on top of him. I don't think he knew he was there.
Yeah, very hard there, especially if they're coming from way over on the right-hand side of the track. It's a very wide track, and he wouldn't have seen that in his vision, seen the car coming, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what race control do about that one.
Yeah, and that was the 340 involved in that. So Justin Alderton's driving that car for Arm Racing. Heavy damage to the front right panel of that car, and Matthew Barron's hopefully got away with not too much damage.
Yeah, it just is unfortunate with these with the HPD. Even the slightest nudge on these things will upset the aerodynamics on it and the way the air flows over the car, and it on a track like this, it could be 2 to 3 seconds a lap slower just in a straight line. So it's going to hurt him if it's too much damage. But hopefully they can hang on to their pit stop. If they've got to do an early pit stop, it's probably going to hurt them more.
Yeah, the front of that car looks pretty good, so it looks like they may have got away with it. Pretty surprising because it was quite a substantial hit, and they did bounce off the Armco as well. But up front at the moment, Redback Racing, they've got a 3-second lead at the moment over the 116 Nutters Motorsport Green. So they've cleared past Trans-Tasman Racing, and then Nutters Motorsport Orange are sitting in 4th position.
It's been a pretty clean start up there. Like I said, it'd be interesting to see as we go on who's got race pace and who hasn't. You sort of want to try and stay in the draft of the car in front if you can manage it. So it's going to be a long race, and like we said earlier, you're going to have to really manage your car early here so you don't run into too much trouble early. You don't want to be having a damaged car with 12 hours to go and no parts repairs to fix it.
Oh, exactly right, and it could even be worse for some of these guys. They could end up with one fast repair with 23 hours to go. We can see now Nutters Motorsport Orange having a look on Trans-Tasman Racing, but they pull out of that. So you can just see, as you said, Tim, how cautious these guys are, and so they should be. Looking at Synergy Sim Racing, and it's a bit closer between the 200 and the 214, but they are getting quite a bit of a gap back to the 226.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens back there in Class B. Drivers at Synergy Sim Racing have got to put in their car, and what drivers ERA are going to have with their other commitments. So it's going to be a... but I do notice Anthony Mansarella is in the car, and he is one of their better drivers. So maybe they just haven't had time to put into the setup this race like they'd want, but it could be a good race setup too that looks after its tyres. We'll just have to see as we go.
Yeah, well, these guys just have to finish in the top 5 to wind it up, don't they? It's really the Synergy Sim Racing boys that have to do all the effort, and these guys pretty much just have to make sure that car stays in the top 5 for the next 23 hours and 53 minutes.
Yes, I guess it's good for them to be in that position where they've got a bit of a buffer. If it was 10 or 20 points, they'd have to go flat out just as hard as what Synergy Sim Racing does. So I guess the ball's definitely on their court, and it's probably going to come down to a mistake from ERA if they make one for them to have much of a hope. But, I wish them all the best, and just, it'd be great to see them battling out side by side with about 15 minutes to go at the end of this.
Oh, it certainly would be, and a big commitment for ERA, as you said, Tim. they're not only running in the AEC trying to get Class B tonight, they're also onto the second round of their BES campaign and trying to get a few cars into the World Championships for that. And folks, if you're wondering what that is, they're running the qualifiers now until early March, I think it is. And the top 25, I think, get a seat. Well, I'm not sure how many because there's so many reserved. But they're trying to get the final seats in the World Championship for the Blunt Pain Endurance Series.
You haven't actually caught up with how they're doing that. I imagine there'd be probably the top 15 maybe left over from the ones that finished the top 15 this year will probably get a permanent spot for next year, and the rest of them are going to have to try and pre-qualify. I'd be interested to see how many teams Australia can get back in there. Well, I know we had 5 this year. It'd be great to see, if not those same 5, but hopefully get a few more, try and get up to 7 or 8 for next year.
Yeah, it would be good, but I tell you what, there's a lot of cars trying to qualify. There was last round, I counted around about 140 to 150 teams across 3 splits trying to pre-qualify. So you're definitely going to have to be on the top of your game to get those final seats in the World Championship.
And we've got to move on here between the 169 and the 177, Bernie, and the 137's in there as well. These boys have been battling hard for the last half a lap.
Yeah, it looks like the 169 ABR Team 2, they're a bit of a cork in the bottle at the moment, as we can see now TD Racing, Colin Schweck's in that car, the 137, coming up on the inside of Team TTL. And he sweeps across the nose and snatches that position now. Heavy under brakes into Mulsanne, and then heavy back on the accelerator all the way up towards Indianapolis.
Very hard corner that. You're very hard under brakes, and then you're trying to get as early as you can on the throttle because you've got this another long straight coming up. And if you watch a lot of the cars, all 3 classes, they're very twitchy coming out of there under throttle. And that's simply because they've had to wind off so much of the aero downforce they can have and trying to get mechanical grip. So everyone's really, if you watch the back of the cars where they've got the tight corners where they've got to get the power down, a lot of them are struggling with trying to get that power down. You'll see the cars are very twitchy when they go for the right foot.
Yeah, it'd be the same now. They're coming into Arnage, and that would be a similar situation, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, when I was practicing before, coming out of that corner there, you've really got to feed the throttle and you can't just dump it. So there are a lot of very technical, like you said, very long straights to start off, then you go into this technical section around the back, and it's just like a track with 2 faces, and there's probably parts of it each driver likes, but not the whole lot, so it's very hard for each driver, and like I said, for the mechanics to get these cars set up exactly where they want them for the whole lap.
You can see them now going through the Porsche curves, up through Masson Blanc, I guess, into Corvette now. And as they come through here, it sort of tightens up, doesn't it? And then it opens out as they come down into Ford. And we'll stay on board here with Colin, and you'll get a bit of appreciation, folks, how tight it is through here.
Yeah, down to first gear, and then you've got to try and get back on the throttle out the back with stepping out. So, and coming up to this section up here too, very hard. You're trying to carry as much speed as you can through this first corner, but then you've got to get hard on the brakes to get back to the left. So, very technical track.
Yeah, it certainly is, as they come up now through Dunlop and then down the hill towards the S's, and finally through Tetra Rouge, I think it is, and then the guys can have a bit of a breather, can't they, when they get in this back straight?
Yeah, and this last corner before you get onto the back straight is so hard. It's so easy to get an off track here. Just too much curb on the way in or the way out, and you'll get a slow down. So you've really got to manage that too. But you're trying to get through there as quick as you can because you know you've got this long straight to get onto, and if you don't get that just right, it could cost you 0.3, 0.4 of a second a lap. And then of course if you get a slow down, you're talking 2 seconds just for that 1 second.
I guess now hard on the brakes into Forza, this first chicane, and second gear through there it looks like Colin's taking, and then a bit more of a breather than up to Michelin.
Yeah, a bit of a breather here, and then again you're hard on the brakes. You can go a little bit deeper into the next chicane because you're not carrying quite as much speed as you was for the first one. You can take them in second or third. I generally go through here in third gear just so I don't have to worry about getting too much wheel spin on exit. And then you've got the next long straight, and then you've got the very tricky braking zone at the end of the next straight, which you're sort of trying to turn the car and brake. So very, very technical again on the brakes down the end of this straight they're coming onto now.
Yeah, and we'll stay on board with Colin as he comes back up to Mulsanne. But I guess you try to sweep it around this first sweeper, and then you're hard on the brakes on that small straight. Is that how they'll do it, or would they dab the brakes soon?
Well, you see he's just touched the witch's hat there. If you go out any further than that, you will get a slowdown if you go out the other side of that witch's hat. So you're trying to get out as wide as you can to try and break the car in a straight line. You've got to get it back to first gear, get through as nice as you can on the apex, keep as much corner speed so you can get back on the throttle on exit.
Yeah, and in these cars and the speed you guys would be doing, it would take a lot of concentration to be able to hit all those marks on a lap around here.
Yeah, like I said, such a long lap, and it's so easy. Every corner's different, so it's so easy to make even the slightest mistake and you're throwing a lap away. And frustrating because you've got another 3.5 minutes before you've got a chance to do it again.
And at the moment, FSR Dayco Motorsports, they're up to 11th at the moment. They've passed 3 cars this lap. And looking at their lap times, they're doing, last lap was a 3:42, where the leader's doing a 3:34, and a lot of that would be just the traffic this car's negotiating. They're 61 seconds down from the leader, so not too bad for this car, and it just takes a safety car, and these guys will be back in it again.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on them next time down the straights there to see what they're peaking out at, to see if the car's got too much damage. But I did just hear over the radio channel there that the 340 car has received a black flag for that incident.
Yeah, and Adrian just let us know at that point as well. Basically, contact on the 100. I'll just have a look at what the penalty is. A drive-through penalty for the 340.
Yeah, a bit of a shame for both cars there. It wasn't intentional, just he thought he had room to come back on, and Dayco didn't see him. But if you leave the racing line or off the track, it's the driver's responsibility to make sure they rejoin safely, and yeah, unfortunately he just got caught out with that one.
Yeah, I'd say, the car's so low and it was right up beside him. He probably didn't realise it was there when he turned down. But let's have a look at the Class C. We haven't seen much of them. Matthew Trotman is leading the way at the moment, and so we're just being told again, Carnet TDR's moved up a position. They're up to 4th at the moment, and they're now chasing down Justin Strickland in the 116 and their teammate Gary Hamilton. So Gary's up to 2nd at the moment in Nutters Motorsport Orange.
Yeah, great to see Gary. He's one of our more competitive GT3 drivers we've got in Australia. It's great to see him getting in with a team like Munners and having a run in the HPD.
Yeah, and it'd be a huge difference, wouldn't it, from jumping out of a GT3 and jumping into something like this. It'd be quite a different skill set you'd have to rely on, wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely. I mainly drive tin top cars myself on iRacing, and I've been struggling big time trying to come to grips with the HPD. Just it's such a high downforce car, and you've really got to throw the car in and trust that downforce is going to get you through. And yeah, coming from a GT3 where you got your ABS and then you've got to get the weight transfer right in a GT3, whereas HPD hasn't got that. So it is a totally different driving style, but when you get someone as good as Gary Hamilton, you hardly notice a difference, I suppose, with someone like him.
Yeah, well, a lot of these drivers can pretty much jump out of one car and into another and be competitive with a little bit of practice, and Gary's definitely one of those guys. And I guess it's the equivalent of the real world, racing in a GT3 and then getting a seat in one of the Class A cars for the Le Mans.
Yeah, very much like what's going to happen to the Bathurst 12 Hour this year. You've got guys coming from different class racing from all over the world to come and race a different class, and the good drivers can adapt very easily. We just see Colin make up another position. He just got around the first of the Nutters cars.
Yeah, so he's moving up into 3rd now, so it's looking good for Carnet CDR, and I guess you guys don't have to worry too much because you've wrapped up the championship, and I guess that means the pressure's off. You can go as hard as you guys want to go.
Well, the pressure is off, but there's still a lot of pride within the boys within the team, and I know they want to do really well this race, and I know they'd love to get a win, but at the moment Redback's just got way too much speed for that, and it's sort of been the case for us all year. Every race we've been in, we've been there or thereabouts, but just not quite quick enough to go with the race winner on any given track. So, but like I said, it's all about consistency, and I know Colin, Tim and Aaron, unfortunately I've got to drive the car later. I'm a bit down on pace in it, but hopefully we can keep my stint as short as possible. But the boys have just done a great job all year, keeping it clean, finishing every race, and the biggest thing they've managed to do compared to a lot of other teams too is actually manage their incident limits. I don't think there's been one race this year in all the races they've done where they've exceeded the incident limits and copped a points penalty because of it. So every finish they've got, they've maximised their points on that score as well.
Yeah, and it really shows, I think, the smart way that you guys have approached this, and you've really approached it by looking at averaging out your points through the whole year and how you can approach position one that way, where a few of these other teams I think have just tried to rely on outright speed, and that's not always the best way to go for these long races, because outright speed normally means you're on the edge, and on the edge normally means one little mistake and your race is pretty much over.
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky too. I mean, a few of the like with TTR and that, they've been involved in a couple of incidents that probably weren't their fault, but what I have found racing this series for the last 2 years is, as a driver, I mean, I've raced all three classes now, and in the HPD especially, when you're going through the other classes, you might be following a car through a corner and you've got to wait till you get around the next corner to make that move. And I have found what a lot of people do is they sit right up the back of the car they're trying to follow to get around them as quick as they can on exit. And the problem is, if that car in front of you makes a mistake, you've got no time to react. I know when I was at Circuit of the Americas there, I was following two Corvette prototypes, and as they've come out of the corner up on the tight bit on the hill, they've got together, but because I had a 1 second gap, I had enough time just to ride the brake, work out where they're going to end up, and then hit a gap to get around them with no damage.
Yeah, we just saw now ABR Team 2 come through on Nutters Motorsport Green, and that was just demonstrating the amount of tow they get down that back straight, and now he's ranging up on the back of the 137 again. So these guys have been swapping backwards and forward, and I guess that will happen until they can try and break that slipstream.
Yeah, as I said earlier, you just got to stay in the slipstream of the cars around you. There's going to be a lot of backwards and forwards. It's really going to come down to strategies in the end, and not so much the pace of your best driver, it's the pace of all your drivers over the race. And unfortunately, with me driving, the boys are going to struggle later on big time. I'm about 4 seconds a lap off the pace. I just have not come to grips with this car around this track at all.
Yeah, well, I guess, your job is to stay awake while all the other boys get a good night's sleep. I think that sounds like the plan TDR's doing, as we see Colin there get it all a bit messed up and took to the gravel, but he's managed to keep that car straight, but his tyres will be quite dirty for the next lap or next couple of corners.
Yeah, and he's actually locked the fronts there going in, and then the back switched as well, so you have a little bit of a slight little bit of heat build up, so you just have to take it easy for the next two corners, and then get back into it, get back into his rhythm and onto the back of him again. And it just shows how easy this track is just to make the slightest mistake and how much time it costs you.
Yeah, exactly right. And the 100 at the moment, they're up to 9th, and as they move through the field. But let's jump down to Class C. Matthew Trotman, Delta Sim Sports leading, and they've got Selby Racing Team right behind them. So these guys are really battling for position. As far as the gap back, though, 3.4 seconds back to Swift Racing. But don't discount Swift Racing, because these guys, they've made a massive improvement over this season in the AEC, and they've become very competitive in Class C.
Yeah, they've been getting podiums and that for the last half of the year, and they've done a great job coming from where they were to where they are now. And the interesting thing is, too, when you get in a situation like this where Selby are now, it's do you keep leapfrogging in the draft, or do you just follow in the draft and save that fuel? If he can sit behind him for all of this stint, at each lap he can save that little bit of fuel, so when they get to the pit stop he can have a 3 second advantage just in fuel time.
Yeah, and that's when the pit strategy comes into play, doesn't it? And really, at this stage of the race, 23 hours, 37 minutes to go, there's not a lot of point in racing, is there? As long as you can lap roughly at the same pace as the leader and shadow them. As you said, saving fuel might be the way to go as this race progresses.
Yeah, well, being such a track with these long straights, even if you do manage to make the move, because of the draft, they'll just come straight back around. You can't drop them. So if you're a smart thinking team, you're up there, you're in second place, you're right with the leader, you're not under any pressure where you are, so just save some fuel. And then when you do your first pit stop, if you can be 2 or 3 seconds quicker when you come out of the pits, you'll be actually able to break the toe, and then that's when you might want to put in a few fast laps just to keep them out of your draft, and then you will be able to make a gap on them because they won't be able to use the draft to go with you.
Yeah, and I guess the golden rule at the start of this race is 1, don't damage the car, and 2, make sure you don't go a lap down to the leader in your class.
Yeah, well, I did hear in the driver's briefing that it'll have to be a pretty bad situation for a safety car to come out. So, you know, it'll take a car actually blowing a motor or something that can't be driven back. Even if the car can go back crabbing, because of the width of the track, they're going to let them do it this time. So to get the safety car to come out, it's going to be a lot harder than normal. So, you know, normally, as we saw at Cooter, I think we had a 6-hour race there. We had a safety car at the end of the first hour, then 5 hours of flat-out racing. So, yeah, you want that pace, and really where you're going to make your time up in this race is going to be your pit strategy. I mean, if you're changing tyres every pit stop, that's 16 seconds. You do 26 pit stops, you're down a lap. So by changing tyres every pit stop, so you really got to manage it. Really think about where you're at, where you're going to be, and you know, hopefully, like halfway through, you get a safety car, which if you're getting close to falling down a lap, you'll get it back. But it's just going to be careful management for everybody, just seeing where they're at as we go.
Yeah, exactly right, and the risk now is climbing, folks, because Redback Racing HPD, they're starting to lap the GT3s, and as we know, in the HPDs, once you start getting into traffic, it seems to be like a constant thing for most of the race, doesn't it?
It does feel like that sometimes, and I know from a GT3 perspective, when you're in one of them, it sort of won't be too bad on a track like this where it's such a long lap, but you go on some of these shorter tracks and it just feels like every corner you've either got a HPD or a Corvette coming through. So it's frustrating no matter which class you're in, and for the poor old GT3 boys, they're copping it twice as much, I suppose. But like I said, that comes down to driver mindset in a long race like this. You've really got to plan your moves, think ahead, think smart, and do everything you can, clean and precise. You know, you're going to lose time in traffic. You just got to be prepared to cop that.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of trust between both drivers, doesn't it? The GT3 guys, they can get very intimidated, I guess you could say, from the HPDs and how quickly they approach them. But they've really just got to hold their line and trust the faster car's going to negotiate the pass safely. And the HPD guy, he also has to trust that the GT3 is not going to do anything crazy and cut across the track.
Yeah, like I said, it comes down to trust between both parties, but the way I approach it when I'm in the car, if I'm in the HPD, I'm the faster class, it's my responsibility to pass Class C and Class B safely. So if I can't make a clean move before the corner, I've just got to be patient and wait till we get out the other side. You know, and I know from being in the GT3 class, like I said, it just feels like you're under pressure the whole lap. But you might have someone who's 2 or 3 seconds in front of you. You're trying to nail your laps to go with them, and the whole time you're trying not to give up time with other cars coming through. And again, as a GT3 driver, they've got to be precise on what they do as well. They've got to make an early decision about whether they're going to take the corner or not and stick to it and stick to their line. And then that way, then the guy coming around them knows where they're going to be, how they're going to do it, and everyone can get through cleanly.
Yeah, and there's a lot of body language that the race drivers look at as well, isn't it? And what I mean by body language, folks, isn't the body language of the driver, but that body language is transferred into how the driver positions that car, how they're driving the car, and that's how, I guess, Tim, you'd interpret what the intention of that driver is.
Yeah, it's how you position your car. I mean, it's the same as when you're driving down the road. If you see a car moving to the left, you understand they're going to be turning left or right, whatever it may be. It's the same on the racetrack. How you position your car will determine how people around you react. I mean, I know when I'm driving, especially as a GT3, if I was going down a long straight and I had 3 or 4 HPDs coming up behind me and I knew the first one was going to get me before the corner, what I'd do is actually halfway down the straight, I'd move over to off the racing line, you give the brake pedal 2 taps, and that let the boys coming through know that I was going to let them go before the corner. So even though you can't talk to each other, the way you position your car, and there are other ways you can talk to each other on the track to make it safe for everybody.
Yeah, and all that really adds up, doesn't it? And it's appreciated by a lot of the faster drivers as well, if you can do that to help them through. I guess, we don't have indicators on these cars, but if we did, that would be another way to do it, which you see in real world, don't you? They indicate and flash their brakes to tell them to go through on whichever side they want them.
Yeah, like I said, there's many ways you can do it in a car, but like I said, the attitude and the way you position your car is probably the biggest determinant for the guy that's coming around you to know where you're going to be and what you're going to do. I know when I'm coming up in a slower class, I just want them to stick to their racing line and do what they would do every other lap, and I'll get my way around them when it's safe to do so.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's what race controls tells them as well, isn't it? That it's a responsibility of the faster car to make that move, and it's a responsibility of the slower car to facilitate the move without doing anything crazy. As we can see at the moment, the 169, they're looking good. ABR Team 2, they're up to second, and they've got Gary Hamilton a couple of car lengths behind them as they go past Speed TV's Audi.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, now we've got the situation where we've got traffic. You should see the next car behind them trying to decide where they're going to go. We're into traffic now, so it's a bit like the old rubber band. You might get held up one lap, the car behind you will catch the next lap, the other ones will get held up, or each corner you might get that yo-yo effect going, and it's just mentally staying strong now and understanding that and just picking your lines and just keeping the car safe for these first 23 hours, and at the end of that, if you're in a position to race someone, then you go for it.
Yeah, and the thing is, the other part of the big mindset battle for a lot of these guys is if you do see that rubber band stretching, they don't want to act desperate and do a lunge on the slower car because they're worried they're going to lose contact, because that's normally when big accidents take place.
Yeah, I work on the theory if it's a 50-50 manoeuvre, it ain't on.
That's a good theory to stand by, and that's for sure. I think I don't know how I approach things. If the red mist's down, well, it's whatever move I can make will work. But most of the time, I'm like you. I'll calculate the risk and then go from there.
The other thing too, a lot of the in the mindset of the driver is later on in the race, you're going to have cars. No matter how good you are, whatever, you're going to end up with cars a lap down or a lap up in class. So even though you might be a lap ahead of the car behind you that's catching you in the same class, you might be the slower driver for the team and they got their faster one in. So you've also got to try and manage that sort of stuff as well. You've got to know when to let people go, when to not, who you're racing at the time, who you're not racing. And, we've all got spotters and that. And I know a lot of people think 24 hours is a long time, but in a race like this, there's always something going on. You're planning something, you're doing something. And that's what I love about multi-class racing. No matter, even if you're not racing anyone for a position, there's still so much going on you've got to think about as a driver.
Yeah, we just had news that the Class C 333 Mad Cow Racing Freed is in the pits. We can see them sitting there. They've been in there for a long time. Adrian, do you have any more information on what's going on with that car, or have they just not come out of the pits?
Yeah, Benny, I noticed that I was looking for Mad Cow, obviously going through scanning to see what's going on, and just wondering if Scott Gray had a technical issue. So that's something that we might have to chase up in our next broadcast. But yeah, it looks like he's had a technical issue because Sonny Catchin is in the car now. So probably the car's had a technical issue, or Scott's had a technical issue, and the car's been planted in the wall somewhere and they've had to repair it. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's going to be in there for at least half an hour to repair that, if that's the case, because I did see Scott drop in and out on my stream there when I was trying to catch up to him. So I'm not sure if you could catch that, but yeah, something that I couldn't see where he went off, but he definitely disappeared off the screen.
Yeah, he's actually had a internet dropout, so unfortunately that car will be sitting there waiting for the tow, and on a track like this, that could be up to 8-9 minutes they'll have to sit there for.
Yeah, that's going to be really costly for that car. Looking at the championship, they really need to finish this race, because if they don't, potentially Selby, if they did win Class C and Mad Cow DNF'd, then it'd be pretty close in the final step. But quite honestly, I think this car's fairly safe as far as taking out Class C.
Well, if Sonny's there ready to go on the car, they'll get back into it, and we know how quick they are. And a couple of safety cars and that, and these boys will be back on the lead lap in no time if they manage it right and be back into it.
Yeah, 9 minutes, folks, sounds like a lot of time, but around Le Mans, these guys, Class C, they're pretty much lapping in the 4 minutes, so that's going to equate to probably about 2 laps that car will go down to their leader.
Yeah, well, they're a lap down now, so hopefully they won't be too much longer in there. It all depends how far around the track he was when he dropped out too. I didn't actually get to see that. So, like I said, a lot of interesting things here, and it'd be great to watch these boys coming back for the next 23 hours.
It certainly will, and it's pretty much now for that car, they play the strategy. They have to be patient. They have to try to catch the leaders and get that lap back up in between safety cars. Now, looking at the way this track's spread out, I wouldn't be expecting a lot of safety cars, but what's your thoughts from a driver's perspective?
Like I said, sorry, Bernie, it's a very hard track. You do have a lot of spins in that, but you don't have a lot of high-speed impact. Where you're probably going to get a safety car is if someone comes unstuck down the straights where you've got the high speed. If they go into the wall hard there, they are going to pop the motor and they will not be able to drive that car back. So as long as they're managing the straights and that pretty well right, a lot of the other places where you have contact, unless you end up on your roof, you can generally get the car back to the pits and get it fixed.
Yeah, and was there any talk in the briefings from race control about trying to use a virtual safety car?
From what I heard in the briefing there earlier, Bernie, they're going to be very reluctant to even call a safety car. And like I said, unless someone pops a motor or that, they're going to let them limp back to the pits because the track's so wide. They're trying to stay out of it as much as they can, I suppose. Yeah,
well, I guess, if they do call a safety car and it takes, 3 laps for a safety car by the time they go through the whole process of waving cars by, opening the pit lane, you're looking at probably a good 20 minutes, maybe longer, behind one safety car.
Yeah, and like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see how the teams manage this. I know in all the other races, because the safety car, since they brought in the new system, goes for so long, you need to have about 3 laps of fuel left in your tank to manage that in case the safety car is called out. I know for us at Circuit of America, we were going to pit the lap that the safety car come out, and when Aaron's actually gone into the pits about 4 laps later, he's actually had to roll it down to his pit bay. He was out of fuel, the car had stopped, so we were very lucky not to go a lap down on that situation there early. And this track here is going to be the same. Do you make sure you keep enough fuel in case one comes out? Or given that race control said they're going to be very reluctant to call one, do you risk it and drain the tank and try and minimise 1 or 2 pit stops during the race?
Yeah, it's a hard call, isn't it? I guess most of the drivers can really do is it's pick the strategy that the team's going to run at and run to that strategy and not get caught up in if a safety car may or may not come out.
Well, like I said, on a track this big, if safety car comes out and you've got 1 lap of fuel left, you're going to end up running out of fuel and have to get a tow back, and that is going to put you down a lap here, no worries at all. I mean, we still see Mad Cow still sitting in the pits, they've now gone 2 laps down, so we're just seeing there of how long the tow is. If you do have a problem around this track, and just how much it's going to cost you, so you've really got to manage that to make sure you don't get put in that position. Yeah,
and I think this car, Frieda's got more problems because Sonny did jump into that car, he's jumped out. James Stevenson's jumped in, and now that car has disappeared from our servers again. So I suspect they may have that glitch that you can get sometimes in iRacing, where they just can't get that car out of the pit lane.
Well, we definitely hope not. We hope they can get that car going again. And I didn't actually get to hear what the points difference was. So depending on the points, they may have to. Now, if it's a glitch and they can't do it, it's going to be an absolute shame if they lose a championship because of it.
Yeah, well, the points difference, if I bring that up now so I can have a look at it, they're sitting on 2,750 points. Selby's on 2,335 points. The most that they can take in winning Class C is 370 points. So if someone's got a calculator there, add 2,335 and 370, and that'll tell us whether Mad Cow is in trouble or not.
They will be in trouble. I think it'll be by 5 points, by the sounds of that.
So if that's the case, that car has to get out of the pits, and Sonny's back in it, but it's gone white again. And I tell you what, if what can one say? If it comes down to that car can't leave the pits and Selby wins, Selby's leading the class at the moment, it's going to be a bitter pill to swallow, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, considering how dominant they've been this year. And if we also remember back to, I think it was Sebring, they had a pit lane glitch there too, where they've come in to get a repair done, and the car wouldn't repair it and wouldn't release it from the pits. So this will be the second time this season they've had something like that happen to them, which would be an absolute heartbreaker for them, given the dominance they've had in that class all season.
Oh, it certainly would. I wouldn't want to be anywhere around the debriefing, because it would be an absolute gut-wrenching feeling. We can also see the 210 Synergy Sim Racing 3 is also in the pits. Looks like they've been in there for quite a while as well. Clifford Chapman's jumped into that car, and looking like they're taking a bit of service. The other cars that have had to pit, Blackadder Motorsport, well, they started from the pits, so that's probably why they're up, basically saying they were in there for 287 seconds. The 397 right behind them, they've also pitted. Then we've got the 340, and Ray Meir is driving that car at the moment for Arm Racing, as they're having internet connection problems as well. So it looks like there's quite a bit of internet interference going on tonight.
Yeah, Benny, I might get extra. I think that Synergy Sim Racing 3 is definitely an internet issue as well, because Glenn was in that car and he's dropped out. So you'd be right there. We're having a lot of issues with connection tonight. I know I was struggling to get on tonight as well, so things aren't looking good for this for some of the drivers out there tonight.
No, it certainly isn't, and the 333 now, that's disappeared off the server, so we may be looking at the 333 retiring. And if that's the case, Adrian, the Selby team, they're next in line and they're leading, and all of a sudden this could crack open the Class C. Yeah,
it certainly can, and geez, how would that be for Class C for Selby to win the championship after their naming rights this year? So that'd be really good. And I also see FSR Daco are in the pits here, so they're in probably for a scheduled stop, so they've been in there for a little bit.
Yeah, there's currently been sitting there for 13 seconds, and this is what Tim was saying earlier about how long these guys can last, probably 35 to 40 minutes. But if this is a scheduled stop, this will be the first of them for Class A.
Yeah, don't forget they probably had a bit of damage there earlier too, Bernie, so they probably worked out when they could do their earlier pit stop, still managing their strategy, and rather than going on a full tank on the first one. They probably cut it a bit short to try and get some of that damage fixed from that earlier incident.
Yeah, and they might have also wanted that car lighter to cut through the field quicker. They did a pretty good job. They're up to 9th in class at the moment, so considering they started from the pits, that's not bad. Also considering they had that incident, they're doing well, I think.
Yeah, like I said, it's a long race, and as I've already seen, something like an internet dropout, like a technical issue, which is a bit like a mechanical breakdown, anything can happen in such a long race. So you can be 2 or 3 laps down, and we've seen it all year. You can be first couple of hours, you can be out of a race, and all of a sudden, 18 hours later, you're back in it through just managing it and things starting to go right for you. Your pit stops falling at the right time, the safety car, so you get a lap back. And this is the sort of racing where you just never give up because you just don't know what's going to happen until it's all over.
Yeah, exactly right. And there's so many variables. And now we can see the race leader, Aaron Lee, coming into the pits. And right in front of him is one of the All-Star Motorsports Class B cars. And that's Brent Tucker in the 218. So as you were saying earlier, it's time for Class A and B now to start doing their pits.
We've actually got a big chain of them coming into the pits right now. 2, 3rd, 4th and 5th are all in.
Yeah, so they're all pretty much nose to tail, aren't they? And it's going to be interesting to see if anyone can jump anyone in the pits tonight.
Well, we'll soon find out who's going to be double stinting tyres. I think it's about 22 seconds to put a tank of fuel in and 16 seconds for the tyres. So if you're in and out in about 22, 23 seconds, you know they've just taken fuel. If they're about the 40-second mark, you know they're going for fresh rubber as well. So it'll be interesting to see who thinks they can manage their rubber and who can get another stint out of it.
Yeah, it certainly will. And the other interesting thing is ABR Team 2, they did not come in. So they've taken the lead in Class A, and they feel that they've got enough fuel to do another lap. The 119 Redback Racing HBD 2 team, Peter Lynn driving that car, they also have stayed out.
Yeah, well, like I said, they'll be all getting very close on fuel now. I think the 137 had about a lap of fuel remaining when it come in. But I do notice they've done a driver swap. That's going to cost them 8 seconds even if they don't change tyres. So they'll be a bit slower here than what the 2 cars around them were. But they've just put tyres on the car, so interesting call there.
Yeah, well, the Aaron Lee has now come back out. 45 seconds was the stop for that car. Michael Healy stayed in as well. Trans-Tasman Racing, 31.2 seconds. Nutters Motorsport Orange, third out of the pits, 43.8 seconds. And TDR, Timothy Schwex jumped into that car, 43-second stop. And then Justin Strickland did a 46.2 second stop.
So it is interesting. Most of them there have taken tyres at this first pit stop.
Yeah, I'd say pretty much all of them. Maybe Trans-Tasman Racing did not with the 31-second stop. But you can tell me whether you can get tyres on in 30 seconds. The other one that may not have is the 166 VPR. They're actually in the pits at the moment for 35 seconds so far.
Yeah, he's just gone up on the jacks and come back down, so it looks like they've put tyres on as well. It is interesting to see how many teams did just take tyres and that ran a pit stop. So, yeah, more than I thought.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this TTR team, do you think this car did not take tyres?
They were all nose to tail as they come into the pits. So, Michael Healy's now gone out with a 6-second gap. So maybe they've taken 2 fronts or done something slightly different to everyone else.
Okay, so really, I guess with these cars, it's still they can still fuel them while they change tyres. Is that?
And Justin Strickland's just gone off at the chicane. I'm trying to get a number there for you, Bernie. Sorry. Yeah, 116.
Yeah, I'll have a look. That's probably cold tyres that's affected him there. We'll just have a look at this replay. He's coming on the inside of the TDR HPD under brakes. Heavy under brakes. Gee, he's going in hard into that chicane, and I'm not surprised. Pulls it up, keeps it off the wall. Yeah, he went real deep in there.
Yeah, he sort of... I think Justin's only just got in that car, so he sort of came out a bit aggressive, cold tyres, and just outbrake himself. And it is very easy to do with these cars. So as you come in under brakes, you'll turn the wheel and the rear of the car will get real light. If you're still dragging the brake, as you can see, he just overshot it. Yeah, she just didn't want to turn at all. But he's done a good job keeping it off the wall and no damage to the car, and away he goes again.
Yeah, and Timothy did a good job as well in just sticking to his own brake lines and not getting balked by that car. Some drivers, less experienced drivers, could jump on the brakes heavily and find that they get that car into a spin themselves.
Yeah, sometimes having talent's just not about getting into trouble, it's how you get out of it as well. So, you know, he's reacted, he's gone in too deep, he's got himself into trouble, but he's done everything right there to get himself out of it. Tim was aware enough to give him room to do it, and yeah, that's sort of what you want to see on track.
Yeah, definitely, and they've only been out there now for, how long, 48 minutes, so it's still a long way to go in this race tonight.
Yeah, like I said, we look at the first down, we see who's got speed and who hasn't, but like I said, as the day goes on, you've got to look at which drivers are hopping in and out of the cars, how comfortable they are with the setups they've got, and you know, and especially when we start getting into the early hours tomorrow morning, which I'm doing great, is that's when your concentration's got to be there. Everyone will sort of spread out, so the traffic's not as bad as it is in the first hour, but no matter what you do, when you're normally asleep, so it's going to come down to who minimises their mistakes in that period, so they've got fresh drivers to come in tomorrow morning and really start pounding away towards the end tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way it goes. The other thing that's going to change is the way the track rubbers in and the way it gets dirty offline. That's going to be another thing that the teams are going to have to look at as well.
Yeah, what I've found in a couple of the cars too, like you'll start off with the pressure you think in your tyres is fine, but as that track grips up after about the 6th hour, you can actually put an extra click of tyre pressure in and you'll get more lateral grip, and it will help you get more speed. So as the track grips up, you want to put a little squirt in your tyres to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's interesting, and you're lucky this is a local broadcast so that the other teams don't get that tip. But no doubt they're probably across it as well.
Oh,
but,
they probably put 2 clicks in.
Yeah, but I tell you what, ABR Team 2 with Blake Neck behind the wheel, this car hasn't pitted yet, and I think they've got about 2 laps up. Now, if they could do that every pit time, that's going to start to add up towards the end of this race.
Well, that's what I said. Anyone who's prepared to take that risk on a safety car not coming out, it can add up to a minute by the time we get around to 7 o'clock tomorrow night if you can limit 2 pit stops. So it's a risk doing it. If a safety car comes out and you haven't got the fuel, well, you've got no one to blame yourself, and you just got to cop whatever happens. But if you can get away with it, it's a brilliant strategic move, but it's a risk, I suppose.
Yeah, and it is a risk. The other thing, they've got to be really confident with their numbers, don't they? Because it's such a long lap around here. If you jump the pits and all of a sudden you can't get back around, you're going to have a very long tow, as now we can see ABR Team 2 jump into the pit. So they got an extra 2 laps than the leaders.
Yeah, well, you'd have to assume that everyone else has just kept that little bit in reserve for a safety car. These boys have taken the risk, and on this particular stint it's paid off. Be interested to see if they do it every time and if it pays off every time.
Yeah, it certainly will, and I tell you what, if it paid off this time, it'll be interesting to see where they come out and if they retain the lead, because Redback Racing there just, as Aaron goes off a bit, they've just coming through Corvette now up towards Ford.
And they've gone for a driver swap. Daryl Carter's now hopping into that car, so even if they don't change tyres, they're going to have over a 30-second pit stop here with a driver swap.
Yeah, so Aaron's now coming into Ford, and he should take the lead. But it'll be interesting to see if Daryl Carter in the car, whether that gap has shortened.
And we've also got this GT3 boys starting to do pit stops now as well, so they haven't made the hour mark either as predicted. So yeah, it's just you spend so long on throttle around here that you just chew through so much extra fuel.
Oh yeah.
ARV's now out of the pits. And Redback's longer.
Yeah, we'll try and get a live gap if we can. We can't yet, but once they go through the first couple of sectors, we should get that gap. It was over 6 seconds, so if it's any shorter than that, they've closed it a little bit.
Putting a fresh driver in the car, I'm pretty sure they probably would have put tyres on it. I was off looking at something else when that was happening. So, but because of that pit stop now, they are going to come under pressure here from Gary Hamilton, it looks like.
Yeah, the Nutters Motorsport Orange has caught up to him again, and he'll no doubt get that slipstream and try to make a move up into second. And they've got one of the LMTI Class B cars ahead of them as well. What's the difference in top end speed between the Corvette and the HPD? Are they still very closely matched?
Around here they are closely matched. I was actually in a practice session, I think it was a week ago when we were working on the setup, and I had a Corvette actually catching me in the draft behind my car. The HPD tops at about the 302 to 305 mark. I think the Corvette can still actually get, if it gets a good draft, get up to around that 310. So in a straight line, there's bugger all between, as you can see here. Like, they've gone down 2 straights now and made very little ground on the Corvette.
Yeah, and Gary's...
Now, if you do him under brakes here easy.
Yeah, because that's where the Corvettes are a bit poor, isn't it, under the brakes?
Yeah, the HPD, with all that downforce on the front end, you can go a bit deeper on the brakes than what the Corvette can. And of course, where the HPD really makes up its time on a Corvette is mid-corner speed. They can carry that mid-corner speed, which then gives you extra speed down the next straight.
Yeah, so I guess with the Corvettes, they're going to lose all their time once they get through Indianapolis and Arge, and then up into all, the Porsche curves, that part of the circuit. That's where they're going to probably be a lot weaker than the HPD.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, through these first opening sectors here, they're probably only 1 to 1.5 seconds the quick Corvettes off the back of a HPD, so they're not that far off. But as soon as we start getting into the curves, and that the second half of the track then becomes about 4 to 5 seconds through that sector. So it's just that mid-corner speed, the downforce the HPD has to really get through the corners, and the Corvette just doesn't have that.
Yeah, and that's Matt Zimmerman driving. So we'll jump on board with Matt, and we'll stick with him as he goes through the tricky part of this circuit. And we'll just see how much he's have to gets off the throttle and that sort of thing.
And we've just had car 218 go around to Bernie All-Stars Motorsport with Brian Tucker behind the wheel. He's looped it coming out of one of the slow corners.
Yeah, and that's the lack of downforce, no doubt. We'll jump back and have a look at that replay. And that's what you were talking about earlier, wasn't it?
It's as he's hit the throttle, yeah, the rear end's just gone around, but he probably wasn't quite on line coming into the corner. Looks like he carried a bit too much speed coming into the corner, and he wasn't quite where he wanted to be getting the car, so it's just unfortunately let go as he's put the foot down.
And it looks like that's at Indianapolis. Yeah, it is Indianapolis where he's looped it there.
Yeah, he's far too far over to the left, so he's really shallowed the corner up. He's just carried too much speed on entry, and then as he's put the foot down, he may have even gently locked the rears or whatever, getting in there because he was carrying too much speed. And that little bit of heating on the tyres, when you put the foot down, they just can't handle it, and around she goes, especially with the torque the Corvette's got.
Oh yeah, it'd be pretty easy. We've got also James Stevenson for the 333. Definitely looks like this car's retired, and we'll bring him up and just find out exactly what happened to that car. Hi James, welcome to RRTV's Combox. Unfortunately, it looks like Frida may have retired from this race.
Yeah, I am going to get back out there and do some laps, but that's just to verify I've fixed some hardware issues and not to finish the race.
Okay, so can you tell us exactly what happened to the 333?
Well, during qualifying, my wheel decided it wanted to invert force feedback and stop working and all sorts of silly things, so I went off to fix that up, and Scott jumped in and started the race, and then his connection dropped out, so I jumped back on thinking I'd fixed my issue. I went to drive it out of the pit lane and had no steering, so I stopped and towed, and then we put our third driver, Sonny Canchin, in the car, and the engine blew up while he was sitting there waiting for the tow to finish, and because we were already in the pit stall, we can't use a fast repair, so we have to wait 45 minutes or something for them to replace the engine.
So at the moment, that's what you're doing. Wheel the car behind the wall, wait to get that engine fixed, and then, as you said, just go out and verify your hardware's fixed.
Yeah, pretty much.
So as far as points go now, it's going to be really close, isn't it, with Selby and yourselves? I think Selby pretty much have to win tonight, Class C, and if they do, they'll be, they should jump you by about 5 points.
I thought we were enough points ahead to not need to even turn up to this race. Okay,
well, my slide rule guy has told me a furphy then.
Don't trust me, I failed math.
I'll bring up my calculator, which is going to hopefully not affect my broadcast. It doesn't, and we'll do a bit of math here.
Just on that, James, it's a bit of a shame because you had a glitch at Sebring too, so it's sort of like the second time this season it's happened to you.
You still with us?
Oh, yeah, sorry, wrong button. Yeah, at Sebring we had a bug whereby we changed drivers with a meatball flag, which stopped us leaving the pit lane and getting disqualified.
It's been an absolute shame. Like, you've done so well in all the races, and this is the second time a glitch has sort of really put a downer on it, I suppose, for you, which is a shame for the amount of effort you boys have got. And then, do you guys have to re-qualify for the BS, or have you automatically qualified for next year?
One of the cars has qualified, one of them hasn't. But the car that I'm in has qualified, so I don't have to go and race that tonight. And I've just checked the points. We're 415 ahead of Selby, and the maximum score is 370, so I'm pretty sure we're safe there.
Yeah, well and truly clear, so yeah, no dramas at all with that one.
Yeah, so I just did the math as well. You should be about 45 points clear at the end of this.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. We actually struggled to even get 4 drivers for this race, so it was a struggle to even make it to the grid, but surprisingly, the car was really quick, and I think the BMW, surprising, it's actually got the quickest top speed out there at the moment. But I think that's because most of the Audi and Mercedes guys are running a bit of extra downforce that we're not.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting to hear that, because I think the BMW guys thought they were going to lose quite a few seconds, like 3 seconds a lap, compared to the Audi and the Mercedes.
Yeah, there was the balance of performance change between the last race and now, and that seems to have helped the BMW a little bit at high-speed tracks. But if we managed to get in a draft, we were still going to run into an issue because we hit the rev limiter in 6th gear in the BMW, whereas the other cars can keep going well beyond that.
Yeah, so how's the BES going? Are you guys got any cars in there trying to get into the World Championships?
Buttercup's in there tonight. They're sitting inside the top 25 at the moment. I think they had an 11th at Monza, which is the worst track for the BMW, so they're feeling quietly confident about tonight at Silverstone, where the BMW should be really strong.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. I guess the Australian split will be starting in the next, hour or so, if it hasn't already started. I'm just trying to do my math here again.
I think it starts in about 20 minutes. Registrations are open now, I believe.
Okay. As we see now, the TD Racing entry 137 having a good battle here with who are they fighting?
TTR, Michael Healy.
Yeah, TTR and Justin Strickland right behind them.
Just on that, James, going between the two seasons, was there any talk in the team about changing cars? Maybe trying something else?
Yeah, and the fact that I think we had 3 BOP updates in the space of about 2 weeks meant that we were leaning towards one car, then another, and in the end we ended up back at the BMW because it's still got all the strengths that it had before, and it's just a little bit stronger now on those high-speed tracks.
Yeah, given the competition you're up against, where you're fighting for a tenth of a second, I guess taking in a car you know very well sort of means you can just push that extra little bit out of it rather than trying to fight it and find it earlier on.
Yeah, for sure. And I think had we have got another tenth of a second faster in qualifying at Monza, I think it would have been about 15 spots on the grid. That's how close it is.
And the TDR car's had a problem here, Bernie.
Yeah, they've run wide there. There's a heck of a lot of traffic that they're trying to deal with here. Tim, trying to get through the GT3s are also battling, and I think they've just run off as they've come into Mulsanne.
I've just spoken to the boys. What happened is as Tim's coming down to the corner, his monitor's turned off. He had no idea where he was, and he's put his foot on the brake thinking he was off the track, but he wasn't.
Man, that's the equivalent of someone jumping up in the back seat and putting their hands over your eyes.
Basically, yeah.
So what do you do in a situation and he's still got problems? He's pulled the car up. Just trying to... Who's driving that car at the moment?
Tim Sweck was in it, but his monitor's turned off, and of course he can't see anything. How to even try and get the car to get it towed back to the pits or anything. He's got no idea, and yeah. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Yeah, well, he looks like he's vacated the car, and Collins jumped in, and looks like they have had to get that car towed back to the pits.
Yeah, it looks like he's had to pull his internet cord out to fix it. So yeah, that's a real shame because the boys are doing quite well there. So yeah, that's going to be a long one for them tonight.
And we're getting a lot of internet problems out there tonight, aren't we? We've seen a few teams affected by it. This is another one. I know I'm affected by it because I didn't even think my internet was going to be up tonight for this broadcast. I think Adrian was also struggling with internet tonight.
Yeah, it's just been one of those nights. Everyone seems to be running into trouble with it. There's probably been about 12 or 13 people so far who have actually disconnected, and unfortunately for a few of us, they've been in the car when it's happened.
And Daryl Carter there ran pretty wide, collected one of those bollards you said to avoid. But anyway, James, before we let you go, mate, did you want to give a big moo out to all the spectators out there that always come in to watch you guys race?
Yeah, they've had a big following on Facebook this week. We had a guess the photo ahead of the Blancpain race, and I can't remember who it was that actually picked it. Was that you, Tim? Did you pick that?
What was that, sorry?
On the Facebook, the guess the picture.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't even know about it, sorry.
It was somebody else. I thought it was you for some reason.
I'm not that intelligent.
But yeah, they had fun with that, and I'm sure they're getting ready to G up Buttercup as she takes on the world.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic. Now, is Buttercup normally in the top split, or are you guys in the lower splits?
Top split. Basically, if you're in second split and you win it, you still haven't got enough points, so it's top split or nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be... RRTV will be broadcasting it from round 3, and last week I couldn't even get into the top split to spectate. That's how full up that server was.
You have to make sure you get in early.
Yeah, well, people tell me that, but the question is, how do you get in early when the servers don't open and then everyone piles in? And I got in 2 minutes after the servers opened, and there's no room.
Has to be 1 minute next week.
Yeah, I'll give that a go, that's for sure. But James, is there any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
No, we don't have any sponsors, just our fans on Facebook who get a lovely big moo.
Fantastic. And if any of your fans out there are wondering about our broadcast tonight, just let them know we're broadcasting locally, and we will be uploading it later on tonight so they can watch it back.
Okay. Be sure to let them know.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, tell them it's an XSplit problem. I don't understand it, but I'm getting it's exceeded the quota and all that stuff, which basically is a YouTube API issue or something.
Seems like everybody's having some issues tonight, hey?
Yeah, it certainly does. But anyway, James, best of luck with Buttercup. I'm sorry it didn't turn out for Bessie tonight, but you've won the championship, so it's probably bittersweet.
Yeah, no, it was good to be able to turn up and have some good speed, but disappointing not to really be able to do any laps at all, and I'm sure we'll be back next year and have a big hard go at it, and hopefully we can actually finish Le Mans next year.
Yeah, that'd be something to put on the bio, wouldn't it? But anyway, James, you can go and relax now. Your job's done. Try to get your steering wheel fixed and test, and I guess you can have an early night to bed.
Yeah, I'll have to catch you guys with the BES broadcast later on.
Yeah, no worries. We'll be there next week. If you're not racing, you're more than welcome to jump up into the com box and let us know how things are going for Buttercup. And if you are racing, you're more than welcome to pop in for an interview.
Yep, I'll be sure to drop in at some point. Thanks, guys.
No worries. See you, mate.
Yeah, sorry there, Bernie. I was trying to sort out what was happening with the team there and I hit the wrong button once. But yeah, the boys have come back out. They've unfortunately it was a black screen, then an internet dropout. And unfortunately the car stopped on the track, and just want to publicly apologise to OSR. They were the ones who went into the back, but unfortunately I think they got damage out of that too. So yeah, very sorry for them. It wasn't intentional in any way.
Yeah, well, I guess what can you do when you don't have a screen? It's, you know, we said earlier, it's like someone jumping up and covering your eyes. The other one is if you're in a GT3, it'd be the equivalent of the bonnet flying up and covering the windscreen.
Aaron Lee's just dropped from the server too. I don't know if you're still in the car there, Bernie. That could be a bit of a problem for the the Redback Racing boys there.
Yeah, they're white, which means they have dropped from... I'm just having a look to see if he's actually had an off-track. He hasn't. So I'd say that's another internet connection issue going on. It's just incredible. We saw this at another round where heaps of people had problems with their internet all through the race, and I tell you what, if it's going to happen for the Le Mans 24 hour, it's going to make for a very long race for a lot of these people.
Yeah, unfortunately, like in our sport, unfortunately, our internet connections, everything, and when it fails, we just have to look at it as though it's like a mechanical breakdown. You've got to come to the pits and fix it. So, I mean, we've been very lucky in our position. With the tow on that, the boys have still come out on the lead lap, but they're going to have to fight hard to stay on it now.
Yeah, they will. This is when they'll want a safety car, but the field's so spread out, I doubt we're going to see one for quite a while. Looking at the points, well, Redback Racing, they're sitting down in 5th, so they're pretty much, out of the points hunt. The one they do have to put their effort behind is a 119, and they're sitting in 6th at the moment. Peter Lynn's driving that. Looking at the point scores, that car's currently sitting in 3rd, and they're pretty much racing Team TTL and FSR Dayco Motorsport, and FSR sitting in 6th at the moment, right behind them.
Yeah, well, TTL not being here tonight, that's going to be the big battle between them two now. It's going to be between Redback and FSR to see who gets that 3rd spot. So it's all to play for there. Absolute shame for the 118 boys. They were doing so well out in the lead there and just pulling away and just doing it so comfortably. So, but they're in the same boat as us now. They've got to try and fight their way back, and long race and plenty of racing left to go, and we'll just see how it all pans out at the end. Yeah,
definitely. And I'm just having a look now to see if they have. So it was an internet connection dropout because Brett Wilson has jumped into that car, but they haven't showed up in the pit yet because, of course, they're being towed back.
Yeah, unfortunately, it comes down to where on track you are when you drop out on how long that tow was. I mean, we were lucky we were probably halfway around the track. If you've only just started your lap and then that happens, it'll drop your lap very easily.
Yeah, and folks, Adrian has come back. He's had his tea break. I'm about to go and have mine, so I'm going to hand over the commentary to Adrian and Tim, and I'm going to go and enjoy a nice beef stroganoff.
Yes, please.
Sounds delicious, Benny. So what we're going to get here, folks, is we just Tim and I are just going to chuck it on most exciting here at the moment as Bernie's off having tea, and we'll see what happens here. So basically, we're going to get. Hopefully, we're in sync with iRacing. It gives us the same details. So at the moment, we're with Brant Tucker here in the 218. No, we're back to Trent Thomas. No, how about Daryl Carter? We'll get it here sooner or later.
Yeah, so the old cameraman has a bit of trouble making his mind up at times.
Yeah, now we're back into C-Class. Now, Selby Motorsport's doing well here at the moment. No, Benny, you just have your tea, mate. We'll struggle along with this. It might make a little bit interesting here getting through this. So, yeah, Selby's doing okay here tonight. They having a good run, so it's good to see that car up the pointy end of the field and having a good run tonight, Tim.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you've got Delta Sports. They're at the front leading the class. They did put it on pole, but there's that very small gap back to them, to Selby in second place. So, and you've probably got about a 10-second gap back to Blackadder. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out between those three teams tonight. It's going to come down to their second, third drivers throughout the course of the night. And we do know that Selby does have a very good driver lineup, and they've got some quick, not so much quicker than what's in there now, but they'll be consistently quick all night. So that's where the Delta boys go up this speed all night.
Yeah, just missed a little bit of that. It looks like internet's playing up with everything here at the moment, folks. Just dropped out a little bit there. I'm sure Bernie might have got that captured. But, yeah, no, it's good to see. And obviously the Audis are pretty strong here. The boys have got them set up. They're running pretty well at the moment as well.
Yeah, from what I've read on the forums, I actually haven't had a chance to drive a GT3 car around this track yet, but they're talking about in straight line speed, the Merc was probably going to be the best. Of course, as we know, actually on iRacing yourself, the McLaren's got the top straight line speed, but it's not in this series. So out of the cars that are in here, you're looking at the Merc's probably got a slight advantage in a straight line, and then you've got the Audi, and then you've got the BMW. But from what the Mad Cowboys are saying, the BMW is being tickled up a little bit, so it was actually holding its own here tonight, which was really good to see.
Yeah, it's one of those cars, isn't it? It's been a mainstay. It's had some love given back to it again as we have some trouble here with that Mercedes and a HPD as well. It nearly got chopped again, but and that's Peter Lynn at the moment in that HPD. But yeah, no, it's good to see that BMW. Probably the most comfortable car out there, isn't it, to drive? It seems to respond to what you need to change to it.
I've driven all three of the cars that got here tonight. The Mercedes is actually a nice car to drive on turn-in, acceleration and that. The Audi is one of those cars, it's got to suit your driving style. It's very twitchy on the rear end like the old Porsche used to be. So you sort of got to drive it a different way to the others. But again, if you can nail the setup and nail how you're going to drive that car, it is quite good. Where the BMW has the advantage, it's just a nice settled car as far as turn-in. A little bit hard to get the power down in compared to something like the Audi. The Audi's an absolute rocket ship. You can put the foot down, it'll just take off out of a corner. Whereas the BMW, you've got to feed it in a little bit, same with the Mercedes. But the big advantage the BMW has is just how settled it is on curbs. To drive the Mercedes and the BMW, there's not a lot between them, but the Mercedes does not like getting upset on curbs, whereas the BMW, you can sort of pound over them a bit. And that's where its big advantage is. It's a nice, stable car. It's settled. If you get the setup right, you can ride the curbs and that, and you're not going to unsettle the car too much. So, if anything, it's slightly more forgiving than the rest of the cars. So, if you do make a slight mistake and ride a curb or something more than what you really wanted to, you can get away with it. Whereas the other cars, the other two cars in this class, if you bang them over a curb, they're going to get unstable, and very easy to turn them around doing that.
Yeah, it's great information there, and I'm sure the viewers are keen to hear that. And yeah, just a good car, I suppose. It's very, very good for beginners, and that's why you see probably the Swift racing team adapt to it pretty quickly and get the most out of it. So that's good to see as we're on the boys at the moment. We did flick around there, a few different cars and a bit of racing going on, but these boys are definitely improved, and it's good to see. And hopefully they'll come back next year when it starts again, as we're back now to Synergy Sim Racing 3. Getting a bit untidy there, and with the HBD behind them.
Yeah, the HPD's going to have to try and thread the needle here. So, he's going to go the inside. No, he's had to back out of it. He made the wrong call. Probably should have split him up the middle there.
Oh, interesting there. I don't know what they're doing. It's like he's got to make the choice, but I suppose that's where, like you guys were talking about before, making decisive decisions about what you're doing, and just wrong positioning there at the moment. So makes it a little bit hard as we go back to the Swift boys.
Yeah, he's sort of in that situation there. He's sort of in two minds what to do, and by the time he made his mind up, it was all too late. So that's when you've got to make the decision on what you want to do early. You've got to be clear about it, and then execute that move. If you're unclear or unsure, you just got to pull out and just wait to the next corner to do it again.
And also, we're actually on with Trent here now as well. So Trent having a run. It's been a while since I've seen him in the car, but one of the mainstays in the series. He's I believe they were running the HPDs last year and decided to get back into the GT3s and just putt around and doing a great job down here.
Yeah, no, Trent's a great bloke and a good steerer. I've known him for quite a while and had some brilliant battles with Trent. And he's back here with a Swift boy now. The two BMWs that we've got left in here are having a cracking battle here together to see what they can do.
Yeah, as we go back to another motorsports green, overtaking a C7 there, so the cameraman's getting excited as now we've got ABR going underneath. I think that's a All-Star Motorsports Corvette.
Yeah, it looks like one of the All-Star boys, and it is interesting to see that Nutters are currently running 1-2 with that dropout that Redback Racing had, and Trent Tasman's up to third. So it's good to see those boys out there. They've been here every race since last season, and they put in a lot of effort. And I think as a team, they mainly concentrate on this series. And it's great to see we're in the last round of the series here, and a lot of the effort they've been putting is now starting to pay off, running 1 and 2 in the series. They're here today at Le Mans.
Yeah, it is good to see, and like you said, the BES is probably taking quite a few teams out tonight as well, because TTL run in the trying to qualify in that as well, so quite a few teams are missing and putting their efforts to go pro and getting the BES, and why not? It's a pretty well prestigious event for road racing, and we know how much we love our road racing here in Australia.
Oh, definitely, and I think with iRacing, they always had the Formula 1 as their premier road series event, but I think with the popularity now of GT3 racing right around the world, it's raced on every continent around the world now. You've got American Series, Australia. It's always been very well populated over Europe. Of course, that's where a lot of the manufacturers are based. So as far as a world sport, viewers and participation in a road sport, it's probably up there with probably one of the most popular in the world. So I guess that popularity in real world racing is now translating into the iRacing community.
Yeah, certainly is, and then obviously with the Australian Endurance Championship throwing in these cars with multi-class racing is fantastic. It's good to see these cars out here. It's a shame that the HBD and Corvette are so close on speed on the straightaways. Wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of difference. So there's you get a definitely a different point of view on speed, but hey, look, then there's the chickens, and we got to count them and put up with that sort of stuff. But it's good though. Get to see like the move that Colin's done there on a couple of Corvettes as he's going to have a look on another one there. So good driving there from Colin at the moment.
Yeah, well, Colin did really well there. He actually used a slipstream from one car to get him up to the next one, and as you saw the difference under brakes there coming in compared to the Corvette, he was able to just go that bit deeper, and we've seen Grant Tucker in the background actually have another. He's actually missed his brake marker there and gone straight through. So he's done a very good job though. He's pulled the car up after locking the brakes and just driven in between the tyre barriers without touching and damaging the car at all, and come back on the track safely, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah, for sure. And another team that we don't get to see much is VPR. They do a great job as we go back to Trent, and he's getting chased by the Swift Racing boys. But geez, Trent must be a little bit exciting here. I'm sure we keep going back to him as Matthew is putting on a show. Matthew used to run a great series as well, and in that Corvette, I'm sure they love that thing.
Oh yeah, the LMTI boys used to run the Australian Pro-Am series on a Wednesday night, and Matthew always did a great job of that. But just on the VPR boys, I think they've been in the series for 2 years as well, and they're just one of those teams. They never get talked about. You know, they're never one of the quickest teams out there, but they're probably the cleanest team on track. I think in the 2 years they've been racing, I think you'd be very lucky to find they've ever been penalised or had a drive-through for anything. They're just very patient, very gentleman racers, and they're the sort of people you'd like to race with every day of the week. They're absolutely great blokes and great at what they do.
Yeah, I believe Bernie might correct me when he gets back, but I'm pretty sure VPR is one of the longer running teams in iRacing. I think they come stem back to probably another platform, so they've been around for a while.
Yeah, they have. I know when I first joined iRace about 2.5 years ago, I was running around with Trevor Foster and the boys there, and yeah, they're just great blokes, you know. And like last year, you hardly even mentioned them or anything on the broadcast. They just plugged around and did the thing, and yet at the last series, they were actually, I think they were up second and had a chance of winning it in the last round. Just their consistency all year, and they've done pretty much the same thing this year. They're up there in the points table again, and they'll be the first to admit they're not the fastest team out there, but they just plug away all day. I'd be surprised if they ever use a fast repair, and they just do their thing. They do it. They're very patient drivers in traffic, and you know they get the results because of it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Because they're not getting involved in too much. Generally, you do miss them, and that's the thing, isn't it? The flamboyant drivers out there get noticed, and the ones that get around and do what they need to do without making too much noise seem to get missed, but end up being the team to beat because they're so consistent.
Yeah, well, the thing with VPR is, you know, every round they're going to finish. They're going to finish under the incident limit. Whatever points they get, they're not going to get penalised or lose any of them. And because they just keep out of trouble, other teams run into trouble, pushing too hard in traffic, whatever, and have contact. Those boys don't, you know. They might finish a lap down, but it's not because they had an accident. It's just the way they are. They'll finish every race, and they'll do it cleanly. And like I said, very rarely have a problem, and they're just great people as well. And they're a great team and an absolute asset to the Australian community to have people like that in with us, racing with us.
Yeah, seeing Bernie's back here still in the cameras, might jump back here to him at the moment. It looks like Redback Racing HPD Team 2 at the moment is getting chased by the FSR Daco boys here with Car 100, which started in the pit lane, and there's contact there going through there, so that's not good. You don't want that sort of stuff going on to a HPD as the FSR Daco boys have got to get around it. It looks like the Corvette went wide through there.
We'll just bring up the replay now to see what happened. Yeah, the Redback guys have come into the corner there, and it looked like the, as you said, the Corvette was just going to stay wide and let him have it, and the last minute he sort of taken the line and come down on him, and yeah, he got contact. Hopefully on the side there it won't be too bad, there won't be too much damage to the car, so yeah, just a bit miscommunication again there. Like, it's all about body language. The Corvette went wide, which then signals to the HPD it's time to have you're going to let me through, and the last minute decided no, I'm not.
Yeah, it's I'm just wondering if the guys are actually using their F3, because surely you know they're there. It's not hard as the FSR Daco boys, but yeah, I remember they were in early last time around, so that little battle's gone by the wayside, but it's good to see those boys up there. They were into 5th position, so they were working their way up, so not too bad at the moment.
Well, like I said, they've gone for that early pit stop. They're off strategy with everyone else, just doing their own thing here for a while, so we won't know how the strategy pans out until the end of the race. Safety cars and all that, of course, they're straight back into it. So they're battling away. They're on the lead lap, and that's all you can ask for at this stage of the race. You know, they're doing a great job battling back from where they were.
Yeah, they certainly are. And just trying to find some battles in here. We might actually go back. It looks like the Swift Racing boys, Eric Thorpe, has got past Trent Thomas there. So might have a quick look to see how close they are at the moment, because it was close racing, and something that was definitely interesting while we were going through there is Trent is right on the back of Eric there at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, that's the trick of this track. You've got that draft there. You've just got to manage it, and You know, it's just that yo-yo effect of the draft. I mean, in a GT3 car, it means a lot. It can be 0.4 of a second down these straights. So, you know, they've just got to decide who wants the lead, who's got the pace, and, you know, if from Trent's point of view, if the Swift boys are going that little bit quicker per lap, just stay on their draft and go with them. Don't try and go back around them. You only hold each other up, and if you can go a little bit quicker in the draft behind a car like that, you just stick with them and, yeah, work your way to the front behind them.
Also, save a lot more fuel than the guy in front of you, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, that's what I said earlier on. You can manage your fuel. Like if you're in the draft behind someone, especially in these GT3 cars, as you're coming down the end of the straights, you can lift that up that bit earlier and just save 0.1, 0.15, you know, every lap. So when you actually get to your pit stop, all of a sudden you've got to put 3 or 4 litres less fuel in, and that's 2 or 3 seconds in your pit stop. So there are ways to manage it. You've got to think about it and plan it. But I think in this position here, I think the Swift boys are going just a little bit quicker than G&T. They've caught up to him and now passed him. So the smart move for Trent now is just to stick with him, stay on his draft. Even if he does get a run on him on the long straights, don't worry about going back past him. Just save a bit of fuel and sit behind him.
Yeah, that's right. So we might do a bit of a catch up here too, guys. We might go through the top 5. I'll go through the first 5. Tim will go through the next 5 in class, and I'll round out the last 5. So in Class A, we've got Nutters Motorsport Orange with Gary Hamilton behind the wheel. He's got roughly a 9-second lead on second, which is his teammate Justin Strickland in Motorsports Green. In third, we've got Michael Healy in Trans-Tasman Racing. I think they're about 32 seconds off the lead at the moment. In fourth, we have ABR Team 2 with Daryl Carter. He's 42 odd seconds off the lead. Oh, look, it's updating, so forget about that. And it looks like some of these guys are pit, so that's all gone out the windows, folks.
And Class B, we've got Synergy Sim Racing 1, who are battling for the championship. They're currently running in P1. Their sister car, Synergy Sim Racing 2, is currently running in P2. All-Star Motorsports, the 217 Corvette is up to third. Evolution Racing Australia is currently in fourth, so they're within that range that they needed to be to win the championship there. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as the night goes on. And coming in fifth place is the LMTI 229 Corvette. So good to see those boys having a good run tonight as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. They're actually having a decent run. Usually they struggle, but tonight they're doing okay. So we'll go through Class C and we'll update Class A again later on because they're going through their scheduled stops now. So in first place in Class C is Delta Sim Sports with Matthew Trotman in the car at the moment, followed closely by Selby.com Racing with Nathan Hapats. He's only about 0.1 of a second behind, which is not far. I think that's more than that, to be honest with you. Looking at that, he's quite a little bit further behind than that. So looks like my telemetry's playing up a little bit tonight. In third, we've got Blackadder Motorsports with John Barry in there, doing a good job tonight. Blackadder, we haven't seen him for a while, and to be in third, they're doing a great job. In fourth, it's G&T Racing, so Trent Thomas has gone back around. Eric Thorpe in fifth at the moment, so those boys are having a lovely old ding-dong battle back there.
Yeah, actually, while we were updating the thing, the table there for the positions in class, they actually were going down the straight, and Trent's decided to go up around the outside, coming down the straight, and I don't think the Swift boys are quite ready for it. They've actually made contact before they've gone into the chicane, so they're both carrying a little bit of damage on the front of the car now.
Yeah, and they've got, probably another 30 minutes before they pit. We know that they have an hour before they pit, probably a little bit less than that because they do burn a bit more fuel, but at the moment I'm not going to, I will update Class A, but it's not correct because these guys haven't stopped. So what I might do here is Trans-Tasman Racing have only had one stop and they're leading at the moment. ABR Team 2 are in second and they've only had one stop. Nutters Motorsport Orange, and they've had a driver change there, guys. Phil Gadd is in that car at the moment, and they're the first team on a second stop. Peter Lynn for Redback Racing, they've only had one stop so far, so they're in fourth, and Nutters Motorsports Green, they're on their second stop as well. They've had their second stop, so they're in fifth at the moment. But basically, the two teams here that have had their stops now, they're first and second. So Just a little bit of strategy going here at the moment, and like you said earlier, with safety cars, probably good chance to throw the dice tonight, because we did hear there that race control are not willing to throw a safety car unless it's in one of those situations that you direly can't make it back to the pit lane.
Yeah, like it's all a roll of the dice. I mean, with race control saying what they did earlier, it's probably not such a big gamble in this race. I mean, if a car, like I said, unless they're on their lid or blowing a motor, they should be able to get them back to the pits half safely. So, you probably can roll the dice a lot more with a lot more freedom in this event than you could all the previous ones, where the safety cars did come more regularly. Plus, on this track, like I said, the biggest places for impact are the slow speed corners. So if you do come off there, you generally bend your car rather than break it. So it's only if someone makes a huge mistake going in the straights we'll see a safety car, and given the way this field's spread out now, I really can't see that. So I reckon we might be able to get away with the 24 hours here. We're just who's got the pace and who hasn't.
Yeah, it seems like a really good track for this multi-class racing, doesn't it? I suppose at the end of the day we do see the Le Mans 24 hours generally, and nothing major happens there, but the boys have got in a nice rhythm early and running along, and everything's working pretty well, fine and dandy at the moment.
Yeah, apart from the in-and-out dropouts everyone suffered in the first hour, well, hopefully they settle down as the night goes on. It's going to be a very long day for a lot of teams, unfortunately.
Yeah, it just seems for some reason it's a little bit funny tonight. I'm not sure if it's part of my computer or not, so I'm not willing to say it is anything else at the moment, just because knowing my luck lately, it hasn't been going too well. So if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any at all. But it's really weird tonight. A lot of internet dropouts, and it's hard as a team. You're putting in the effort. You know that your car's okay. In 24 hours, it is a long time, and you can claw a lot back. But man, it can be a lot of trouble. As I just see Trent has he's manually disconnected, so he's out his run. So he must have had a stop, and the new driver in that car.
Yeah, they pitted last lap, so obviously they've done a driver change, and Trent's gone off for a bit of a cool down and let the new bloke have a crack at it.
Yeah, and that car's still in the pits, is it?
Oh, actually, Trent Thomas has left, and there is not actually another driver in that car, so it has left the race.
Well, that's unusual, normally.
Yeah, very unusual. He's done the 22 laps here at the start, and there's not another driver to go into it. So, yeah, that's it. They've pulled the pin.
Well, that's a shame for those guys.
Oh, definitely. He was having a great run there, too. It's an absolute shame he didn't have anyone else to jump in with him there and continue waving the flag. They're doing a wonderful job there.
Yeah, he has done a good battle there with the Swift Racing boys there, so that's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I know the previous rounds have seen very few dropouts, and in this race here I think we've had 3 in the first hour, so very unusual.
Yeah, it is a funny game we play at the moment, isn't it? Just struggling, maybe just with the new track, it's not quite suited to everyone's internet system at the moment.
Could be being a new track too. Depending on what quality computer you've got as well, could be a lot to do with it too. Like, I'd imagine a track this big, it's going to be a lot harder on your computer itself. So maybe some of the problems we're having, maybe some guys are running some older equipment and it's just struggling a bit with the size and the amount of information it's got to handle with a track like this.
Yeah, it could well be, but we won't know that too much. But we'll try and find some racing back here, guys. We'll see what we've got. Plenty of racing back here, and the biggest issue I think I'm getting Tim here tonight is I might be running my telemetry, but it's such a big track. It's probably trying to catch up all the time. So trying to find something close is generally a difficult situation tonight, I think.
Yeah, especially given such a big track too now. All the pit stops have started and coming and going. It's very hard to keep up. I see Delta Sim Sports have just done their pit stop. The current leaders of Class C, and they're back out on the track. So, but I think Selby mightn't have pitted because they're way down the road now. So, interesting to see how that all pans out when Selby might be pitting the next lap. So,
yeah, actually. I was going to say NZ Motorsports have had 2 stops as well, but they had to do a drive through early on, so obviously they've done an extra stop anyway. But to race up there at the moment into 4th position, it's not a bad effort there. Justin's in the car at the moment, so he's on there on his own, so be interesting to see who jumps with him. But they've had a driver change as well in that Delta Sim car. Mike Burdett is in that car at the moment, so I do believe Alex Pole is obviously the other driver as well that we've seen, someone that you and I both know, and generally you can trust him to jump in that car, put the lap times down and bring a car home nice and clean. So he's one of the drivers you want to put in there for a stint for a while, just to make sure your car comes home nice and clean.
Oh, definitely. He's not the quickest driver out there, but you can guarantee him to bring the car back, and the 137 car's in trouble again. It's just gone into the wall, so we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. We'll get to that vision there. That car 137's in the wall. Obviously, Tim's keeping an eye on that one, and yeah, she's a bit banged up in the pit lane, so getting some repairs done. Not sure would it be worthwhile doing quick repairs, and how many you've got left. It's a bit early to use those quick repairs with still got 22 hours to go.
Yeah, it just hasn't worked out the way they wanted tonight. All year they've been consistent, and just, yeah, with that earlier internet dropout, now they're pushing hard to try and get back. It's sort of caught them out big time, so yeah, it's just one of those things, I suppose. Yeah, we'll have to just wait and see how it goes.
What we might do is Bernie will get that replay up. He could actually talk through that replay and tell the viewers what happened, I think.
Yeah. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to queue it up now, and then we'll go back and have a look at it.
I think it was that Indianapolis corner. He's sort of come out of there, hit the throttle, and she just let go on the rear, and yeah, give a good tickle up on the wall.
Alright, I'm still trying to queue it up, and then we'll definitely have a look at it. So that was one of the Schweck boys, Timothy Schweck, that was involved in that.
I think it was Colin. Tim dropped out earlier, and Colin was back in the car, so...
Yeah, it looks like Tim's back in the car there, so I don't know if they've done a driver swap there.
Yeah, they've come into the pitch there to get the repair. I was swap while they were in there.
Okay, so I'm jumping back on the replay. We'll have a look at this. He's just coming up, as you said, towards Indianapolis here. And we'll go to super slow-mo and talk you through what happened. So yeah, he's basically came in okay, got the apex well, but as he got on the gas, he just caught the ripple strip with the rear right wheel, and that put him into a bit of a spin into that wall, which is where all that damage came from. He was very lucky. There was one of the All-Star Motorsports cars behind him, guys, and he was lucky he didn't get that car involved too.
Yeah, like I said earlier, that's the hardest thing in multi-class racing is it's so easy to get caught up in an incident that isn't your fault. And when you're racing around other cars, no matter what class and whatever, you just got to always have that little bit of awareness about you. If something goes wrong, how do I get out of it? A bit like driving on the freeway in a truck.
Okay, well, I'll hand it back to you guys. We've got about another 9 minutes till the end of part 1 here. For the folks watching this, we have shortened our broadcast to 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because of our own internet connection problems. And you know all about it because you're watching this back, not live, but in replay. And hopefully I can get it sorted.
Yeah, thanks, Bernie. Yeah, that car's back out on track and running fine. So, but obviously with that, they didn't need that one, Tim. That's pushing them into the clutches of the leader. So, you know, things going the way they are, they don't need another issue, or they'll go a lap down.
Oh yeah, but you know, we've seen it many times before too. Like, you get your incidents out of the way early. Hopefully the rest of it's clean, and the other teams are under trouble later on. It's just luck of the draw. But the key thing is never to give up. Just keep pushing on. Just see what happens at the end. That's all you can really do.
Yeah, you're exactly right there, mate. And I think we'll just jump back here and see how Michael Schreier's doing at the moment. Out here at the moment in the lead for Class B, doing a great job as per normal. just struggled this year for points and having a good fight there with ERA, but ERA's keeping their keeping their heads on screwed nicely, just putting away, getting that car up through the field and doing a good job there. But even seeing All Star Motorsports up there in third, they're doing a good job there tonight. So another small team, but had a bit of shuffle this year and putting their effort into this. So they're enjoying it. And I'll tell you what, if you want to do a bit more practice too, jump in to see if you can join the Red Pepper League. They're running the Corvettes as well, and that's a good little series we covered off on Tuesday night. Awesome little league with these cars and decent racing, I must admit. That was nice clean racing in that league on Tuesday night.
Yeah, the Red Pepper boys, they do a great job, and it's not, I guess the best way, it's like a sportsman's racing series. They're all good mates and they all just go out to race and have a battle. They don't care who wins, it's just how much fun they can have along the way in door handle racing. And I think out of all the cars on, like I've said, I've driven all three classes, the Corvette's still my favourite car. It's a bit of a beast to drive, and I just love trying to throw that thing around. It's a beautiful car to drive, I love it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty awesome, doesn't it? And I believe it's only got traction control, so it doesn't even have ABS. So that's what makes it a little bit harder to get into those corners and less downforce in those HPDs. But yeah, definitely a nice sounding car, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. Like I said, it's good fun. It's big V8 motor and plenty of horsepower, not much weight. The front of it's a bit stiff, which is where it gets its understeer from, but if you can get the setup right and get comfortable driving it, it is an absolute ball to drive that thing for an hour or two. You just have so much fun in it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, folks, I might say it's got traction control on the rear, but with that much horsepower and that no weight in the rear, that thing, if it gets out sideways, it's going to keep going sideways. It's just going to chew those tyres up pretty mad. So decent car, but yeah, traction control on here doesn't mean a lot for these guys.
Oh yeah, you watch someone like Michael Schreier drive around, he's just pinpoint perfect every lap, and then someone gets me in there, I turn into a drift machine and have a blast. So yeah, a bit of talent goes a long way as well.
Yeah, for sure. And just see Michael here at the moment. It's not moving around at all, is it? It's pretty smooth going through the corners, which is what you want. So he's definitely got it set up for the corners, and that's probably what you want with this thing. You want it nice and settled through corners, because you don't want it stepping out on you at any stage.
Yeah, like I said, it just comes down to the art of getting that throttle in as hard as you can without losing rear grip. And we know Michael runs around the V8 series in Australia, and he's one of the top drivers in that, and he's just bringing that skill and talent he's got in that series into this car. And just every time he hops in this thing, I think he gets a smile on his face. I think from what I've spoken to him, he loves this car as much as I do and enjoys getting out there and giving a good fang.
Yeah, it is a brilliant car. I remember I've jumped in it a couple of times, and I'll tell you, the scariest moment that you get is the first 2 laps while the tyres are a bit cold. They definitely don't like cold tyres, and they don't think they have tyre warmers either, so it makes it interesting on the first couple of laps.
Yeah, on a day like today, it's not too bad. You've got a 40-degree track temp out there at the moment, so when the tyres, even when you come out of the pits, they're not too bad. Where this car is absolutely diabolical is if you do a night race. I know somewhere like Daytona, and I think Bernie can back me up on this, when you leave the pits, it's like you're driving on ice for about the first 2 laps. You can't get any traction. The slightest touch of the throttle, the rear end goes around, and it's an absolute pig of a thing for the first couple of laps to get some heat in those tyres. Today it won't be too bad with that higher track temp. There will be a bit of heat in the tyres already, enough to get you out of trouble anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll just sort of go through a couple of retirements, well, semi-retirements at least for Mad Cow. Those boys are hoping to come back and test their equipment to make sure that's all working. I did catch that earlier on. But G&T Racing have dropped out as well, so bit of a shame there. And it looks like good news for Redback Racing. The HPD Team 1 looks like Aaron Lee is reconnected, so bit of a shame for those. And I believe, Tim, we've got Colin Schweck down there for a quick interview, so we may as well bring him up, and you can have a bit of a chat to him and get the feel for the race while we've got about 13 minutes left of this broadcast to go.
I don't know if I want to talk to him for what he did to the car earlier.
Makes a good interview for sure.
Hey, Colin, welcome to the RRTV combo, mate. Not quite the start you wanted tonight.
Yeah, the first hour was alright, and then we've had a terrible second hour, I tell you. Tim lost all his screens and thought he pulled off the track, but he actually stuck it straight in the middle of the racing line and got rear-ended. And then had to reboot, so it took about a minute before we actually got the car released to us by iRacing. And then, then I just stuck it in a wall doing a routine corner.
Yeah, unfortunately we got that incident there on the coverage too, mate, so that's all good.
So I still don't even know what happened. I've done that corner, well, hundreds of times, and it's never done that to me, so I'm not sure what happened.
Oh, it's probably because you let me behind the wheel earlier. I probably cursed the car, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, we've got 22 hours left with no more fast repairs, so we're going to keep it squeaky clean.
And how's the traffic? It seems to not be too bad out there on this track tonight.
It feels like we're in a test session by ourselves. It feels like there's no one around.
Yeah, coming from the other rounds of the smaller tracks where you're constantly dealing with traffic, it must be a bit of a hard one coming out to a big open track like this. And like you said, with those couple of earlier problems there, you're sort of running around on your own and just trying to time trial and make some time up.
Yeah, well, we're praying for a safety car because I doubt we're going to get 2 minutes back on the field. But if we can just keep circulating until the safety car does eventuate, which I'm sure it will in 22 hours, then we might actually have a shot at getting back up the front.
Well, given the amount of internet dropouts and that tonight, there's still a hope, I suppose. If they get the same problems you've had earlier, there's always a chance that you'll get some of that back anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And if there are any Shane Van Gisbergen fans out, looks like he's just joined the service, so he will be racing tonight.
Yeah, it's always good when you have to go past him in the HPD.
Yeah, we
Makes
might
you
be
feel like a
faster
superstar.
car, but still feels good going around him.
Yeah.
And just with winning the series, Colin, too, I know much effort you and Aaron and Tim have put out through the year. You must be pretty proud of your efforts to have achieved that this season.
It's a bit of a surprise. I mean, like I was saying to you earlier, I was stoked when we got third place in the first round, and then we doubled it up the next round, and then we picked up a second, and then all of a sudden we're at the top of the championship. And I don't really know how it happened. We're not the fastest car out there, but we just keep it on the track.
Until tonight.
Yeah, until tonight. But luckily we wrapped it up last race, so yeah, it just worked out okay. And we've still got 22 hours to go. We'll get back up there, I'm sure.
Oh no, we'll finish it off, mate. We'll give it our absolute best, like we always do, and see where we end up at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
And just before we let you go, is anyone you can give a big shout out to as far as the team and that goes? I know we've got to thank Riley Blythe too. He raced with us in round one there, so he's a championship winner as well with us in the car as well.
Yeah, just everyone that's helped out from TD Racing. So, you got yourself and Aaron and Tim and Kent and Riley. Pat's dropped in. So everyone's helped out and pitched in for the long races, even if they're not driving, just to spot or provide company.
Yeah, we have been very lucky with Kent and Pat especially. Like, those boys haven't been in the car, and yet they'll still turn up and spend hours sitting there with you and talking you through it and helping you out, and just their commitment and love of the sport. It really shines when you've got people like that are prepared to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for coming up, Colin, and yeah, we'll hopefully talk to you again tomorrow afternoon, and we're still circulating. We'll get you back up here, and we'll see how it's all gone overnight for you.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping Aaron turns up. It seems he had a few PC issues, so he's currently without PC, so hopefully he's got one before the end of the race and he can turn some laps for us.
Yes, we'll worry about that one tomorrow. I think we're covered for tonight, so hopefully we get him in tomorrow to get his minimum requirement done. We'll be sweet.
Yeah. No, thanks for the coverage, guys.
No worries. Thanks for coming up, Colin. Have a great race for the rest of it, mate.
So that was Colin Schweck from Team TDR, car number 137. So it was good to have Colin up here. So good to hear that they're okay, but long 24 hours to go for that team.
Yeah, definitely, but it's going to be long for everybody, and if we've made our mistake early and got away with it, a couple other teams make mistakes during the night and tomorrow, well, you're back up there with them anyway, so yeah, everything's still to play for, mate. Nothing's off the table yet.
Yeah, great. And what we might do, we might get Bernie back up here in the booth, and we might slowly wrap this up. What are your thoughts on that, Bernie?
Yeah, I think it's that time, guys, and I'll definitely be spending a little bit of time uploading this tonight so the viewers can at least get part 1. But before we do, let's go through the top 3 in each of the classes. So Class A is currently being led by Nutters Motorsport Green. Nino Natal is driving that car, and this is a very strong team, isn't it, guys?
Yeah, certainly is. Nutters are actually pretty strong throughout their whole team, so doing a great job there tonight. And look, we see Joshua Burden in his car at the moment. So yeah, I just seen the Nutter Sports Orange there. Gary was in, but yeah, no, they're a solid team, and we'll see how they go for the whole 24 hours. Though, like Tim said, it could be a tough one.
Definitely could be. And then second is Trans-Tasman Racing, and I think Michael Healy has pretty much been in this car since the start, some 2 hours ago, so he's probably triple stinting, and probably due to jump out of that car on the next pit stop. Then third is ABR Team 2, another strong team tonight, and Daryl Carter's driving that. They're 37 seconds down from the lead, but yeah, it just takes one safety car, and they'll be back in it again.
Yeah, if we get that safety car.
Yeah, that's going to be the question, isn't it? And then Class B, we've got Michael Schreier in the Synergy Sim Racing Boost Juice entry. Very strong team again, and they're leading in second. We haven't seen much of this team, but that is Synergy Sim Racing 2. Leon Tanders driving that in the 214, and they're sitting in second. So that's first and second for Synergy Sim Racing. And then All-Star Motorsports with Scott Kozlowski. He's sitting in third. So the 217 that is, and it's looking good for All-Stars this early in the race, being in the top 3. And this is another team that's they've been constantly improving as well.
Yeah, they have, Bernie. They've been doing a great job, and been with the team for a very short time. I wasn't with them very long, but Brent's very passionate about keeping a team and running together, and they're enjoying what they do. I know sometimes it can be frustrating, but they enjoy it, and just trying to get a team together and get it all organised. It's something that he loves doing and loves being a part of, and they're been doing a great job, and it just goes to show if you keep sticking at it and working together, you can actually move these cars forward and progress and get better at what you're doing.
Yeah, certainly can, and over the years I've been speaking with Brant about different ideas that he can do with the team or whatsoever, and watching him go through all the growing pains of starting a team and developing it, and it's great to see these boys. They've now got sponsorship, and they're up there in third in Class B and having a great time. Class C, John Barry, Blackadder Motorsport in the 368 was leading, saying was because he's just brought that car in for his pit stop, and this is another very strong team. And then Swift Racing, well, they've had a lot of help by Blackadder to get them to where they are so quickly in this season. They're running second at the moment, not too far down from Blackadder Motorsport. They said at the start of this season they wanted to take the race to them, and they are, and they're coming into the pits. Hopefully they'll take away that P plate at the end of this season, because they definitely have earned their stripes this season. And then third is Delta Simsport, Mike Burnett driving that car, the number 399, 20th outright, third in class. And that's pretty much your top 3 in Class A, B and C. But I guess, guys, the name of this race is internet connection issues. There's been a lot of drivers that have had them, a lot of cars that are in trouble. We lost the 333 over that. They've retired very early on tonight. The 311's also retired, but that I think's more to do with they didn't have any drivers to help Trent out. But we've seen the 118, that car's been in trouble with internet issues. The TDR car's also had its own issues, and there's been a few other teams reporting problems out there tonight.
Yeah, there has. It's just been luck of the draw whether the driver's in the car or not when the internet drops. I've even been watching it, and a lot of people, like the drivers that are yet to get in the car, have been dropping out in between as well. So it's just hit and miss as whether you're in the car when it happens or not.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you were talking earlier about Aaron's computer, trying to get that up so that he can jump in the car. That's another one. We've got our own issues here tonight in the combox with not being able to stream live to YouTube, and the victims of whatever's going on out there. The Techstars not aligning is continuing, but it's very much coming to racer survival at this stage. As far as safety cars go, guys, we haven't seen one tonight. The question is, do you think we will see one, or will this race go all the way without one?
Like I said, that's a bit of a tough call, Bernie. The way everyone's driving at the moment, I don't think we'll see one, no. Because, like I said, the biggest incidents we're having are cars spinning, but it's only in the low-speed corners where it's happening. So, and as we've already seen, everyone who's done that's driven away from it quite happily. It'll only happen if you get a big bunch of cars coming down one of the long straights and someone makes a silly move, and I don't see it happening myself. I don't think we'll see one. The only safety car we will see is the one that let them off at the start.
Yeah, it's a tough one, I think, Bernie. Going by what we heard through race control, they're definitely not trying to pull one out just for someone that's crashed. They're more or less telling them, hey, look, just try and drive it back if you can, if it's just bent. So, like Tim said, if it's upside down, yeah, possibly. If it's blown up as well, possibly. But, you're going to have to put it into a wall somewhere in the tight, twisty sections and not being able to drive it away. I think that's the only place that will get a safety car, and I haven't seen one yet need to be called for that. So, yeah, it's going to be probably 99% sure that we won't get one. Yeah,
I tend to agree. The way the field's totally spread out, the drivers are all being very courteous, and as we see the Nutters Motorsport Green negotiating past Tryhard's 332. Brett Hender's driving in that car. We haven't seen much of them either, but doing a great job, 23rd outright, and it's great to see them out there having fun. But as far as our starting coverage goes, folks, that's pretty much the end of tonight. We will hopefully be back live tomorrow at 11 a.m. If we're not, there will be a delayed mid-race, whatever you want to call it, update. And then 3:30 tomorrow afternoon will either be coming to you live or it'll be another delayed telecast. But either way, you'll get to watch highlights of the race, and hopefully you're enjoying the final coverage of the Australian Endurance Championship for 2016. And Adrian, after this, we're almost to the point where we can start thinking about Christmas.
Yeah, it's like that, isn't it? One of those things, last race for the AEC, so yeah, interesting. It's just a shame that things are going pear-shaped for everyone at the moment, so it was a shame, but look, hopefully tomorrow we'll be back up and running, and we'll cover it off properly for everyone and give a good send-off to this series.
Yeah, exactly right. And Tim, it's been a pleasure having you up here tonight, doing the calls with us. It's always, as my internet now drops out, it's always great to have you up here, and I hope you've enjoyed your time with us up in the combox.
I certainly have, and thank you for having me up here, Bernie. It's much appreciated, and I enjoy getting up here, and hopefully sometimes I can give a bit of an insight as to what the drivers are going through and what the cars are like, and gives a bit of appreciation of what these boys put in to put this show on for everyone.
Yeah, it's great to have that insight, that's for sure. And if you're bored tomorrow, by all means jump back in. You're more than welcome. It's been great having you call it. And Adrian, I guess we would have been going for another couple of hours, but it looks like an early night for you. 8 o'clock roughly in Queensland.
Yeah, early night. Got to be grateful for small consequences, I suppose. So Yeah, no, a bit of an early night one for a change. Bit of a shame though. It would have been interesting to watch, and trying to cover off 4 or 5 hours of this is would have been a difficult one, especially the way they've spread out. But I'm sure we would have made it through.
Oh yeah, we would have got through it. But the 340 at the moment, Arm Racing, that's another car to have a talk about before we leave. They had a very early collision on probably second lap with the 100. As the 100 was coming through, this car didn't see them basically and turned in on the corner, and there was contact made. But fortunately, both cars are still circulating, and hopefully their race will continue to get better. But anyway, Adrian, Tim, it's been a pleasure, mate. It's time for us to say goodnight to all our viewers out there, and to the viewers out there, whoever's watching this, hope you've enjoyed this first part 1 of the Le Mans 24 hour, and we hope you have a good evening. So on behalf of Tim Ballinger, Adrian Jarvis, I'm Bernie Weemers, and hopefully we will catch up with you tomorrow.